You would not be eating the way you are right now without K Mel teaching you the ropes of the streets. You know, it's like Eric Clapton. You know who Eric Clapton is?
Yeah, of course.
He learned how to play blues. He has told stories about him getting the shit smacked out of him, jumped, beat up, robbed by playing with real blues players in Chicago and black blues players in Chicago and whatever, and other shifty, you can call them shifty blues players, whatever you want to call them. But you know what he said? If I would never play with these people, I wouldn't be as great as I was. I wouldn't be as great as I am now. I took all the punishment and, and remember the punishment that these black blues players has taken to learn blues. And you took some of the punishment, but now you're Eric Clapton. It's because of them. You know, you took some beatings, you took some shit from K Mel, but if it wasn't for K Mel, you wouldn't be putting food on your table for your family. You wouldn't have that freedom to be in California and have a job when and work when you want, so that you can go ahead and audition and get gigs and jobs and all that. You wouldn't have that freedom. So you owe him a lot. But you know what I mean? Even though
We apologize for any audio quality issues in this podcast. Due to technical difficulties, the recording may contain audio distortion, background noise, or other imperfections. We have done our best to mitigate these issues, but some may still be present. We appreciate your understanding and hope that the content of the podcast is still valuable and enjoyable for you.
The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Flash Talks, history worth listening to. I go by the name of Flashback, and this evening we have another special guest. He goes by the name of Julio, Santiago, aka the Boogie Down Klown, one of the earliest pioneer in street dance and a true master of the craft. Born in Manhattan, raised in the Bronx, he's been popping and locking his way around the world for decades, wowing audiences with his electrifying moves and infectious energy. But remember, he's just not a dancer. He's a true entertainer with a gift for comedic antics and charismatic that lights up the dance floor and the stage. Some even say he's the modern day rerun from the classic sitcom What's Happening. With a career spanning in film, music videos, and theater, he's a true force to be reckoned with. And most recently, he took on the ultimate challenge as a principal in the role of Michael Jackson's The Immortal World Tour by Cirque du Soleil. With his signature style and showmanship, he brought the king of pop's music to life like never before. So get ready to be inspired and get ready to learn some of his history. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Julio Santiago, aka Boogie Down Klown.
What's up?
that was an awesome intro, brother. Awesome
You
intro.
enjoyed it? You
Oh,
enjoyed it?
yeah, it was great. And I watched a couple of your shows, and they're awesome, man. I
Thank you,
want to give
man.
you your flowers right now. You know, before we get into
Oh,
my story. You
man.
know, for
Okay.
doing this. You know, to giving uh, people like me, OGs, and you know cats in my age range, and dancers, giving them a platform to tell their story. You know what I'm saying? So
That's right.
mad
I
props
have
for
to.
that. That's cool.
Thank you, appreciate it. And you've been one of those. I can't even say OG. You're one of those because you're still doing it. I think that when people are called OGs, it's like when they completely stop already. So
Right, right. Yeah.
I still feel that you're still doing this. So But to other people, you are an OG, one of the
Hmm.
pioneers of the street dance, and I've seen you since I started breaking. And this is 93, 94. We
Right.
like this is 30 years like in this.
Yeah.
And you've actually could vouch that I was there. I've been
Right.
around. I've done some stuff here and there. So, and it's
Hmm.
so awesome. And I thank you for being part of the show. And not only that, just to take the time out of our busy schedule to just have a conversation and let the world know your history. Because that's
Right.
what everyone wants to hear. They want to hear how you started, where you went in your life, what you're doing now. We're gonna get into all that good stuff. But the first
Cool.
thing I would like for you to do, I want you to look around in the screen and tell me what you see around.
Well, I see on top Flash Talks history, history worth listening to, which is really cool.
What else?
Okay.
What about in the little corners?
You
I know
got
it's
some
probably hard to
graffiti.
see it.
You got some graffiti going on over here, and a DJ going on over here, and a couple of cool little characters on top with a one over here on the left with a boombox. So it's really cool looking. Nice screen.
Yeah, so this is basically the culture, and you and I are knowledge, the fifth elements of hip hop. And basically,
Right.
we're going to talk about our history, your history, and all that good stuff. But
Right.
we're going to go straight to it because I know we're busy, so we got to keep it going. So the first question is,
Okay.
how were you introduced into the hip hop culture? And I want you to tell me, like, meaning before you even heard rap, graffiti, when you were a little kid. I want you to go back to that. And don't forget to give me some years because that is very, very
That's
important.
important. I'm gonna try my
Yes, to
best
know.
to give you or
Yes,
give
to
you
kind of
roundabout
remember.
figures.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
give you some
talk
roundabout
to me
figures.
about, let's say, clown at 10 years old. So tell me
Clown
where
at
were you at? Yeah, go
Clown
ahead.
at 10 years old was living in the Bronx, uh, 243rd Street, White Plains Road. So that was the last stop on the number two train. I think the last stop on the number two train was 241st. I was living on 243rd, White Plains Road, as a child. This is what I remember. Now, prior to that, when I was like 5 and 6, vaguely remember me living with my aunt because when I was younger, we had my mother had an unfortunate incident where she lost a child at 8 years old. So when she lost that child, uh, she went, a mother loses a child at 8 years old. She went crazy. So she got involved in what do you call that word? She was using drugs, but there's a different word. She became an addict. My
Okay.
aunt, my aunt took me, brought me to Queens, and she took care of me for a while. Problem was, is me and her son bumped heads as kids. We bumped heads a lot, even as kids. So, and it was a full house, so she couldn't really. She tried her best to take care of me, but she couldn't do it. But she didn't want to send me back to my mom because she was addicted to drugs because of what happened, the tragedy she went through. So she placed me in foster care until I was put in a group home. Now, when I was a child, I was put in a group home. There was a group home on 243rd Street. So that's where I was living at. And that's what I remember 9, 8, and 10 years old, 11. I remember all that. I vaguely remember the 5 and 6 and 4, that stuff. I know this kind of like the story, but it's vague. So 8, 9, 10, probably up to 11, I was in this group home. And this was 243rd Street was a very nice neighborhood. It wasn't a bad neighborhood in the Bronx. It was a nice neighborhood. It was mostly houses in that neighborhood.
Is
We
that by
lived in a house.
Riverdale?
No, that's it borders Yonkers and it borders both Yonkers and Mount Vernon.
So it's kind of like on the other side of where the one train ends in Van Cortlandt Park and then goes to Yonkers. And you're on the two, so you're more on the, let's say, the east.
Yeah, I'm like more on where the two closer to the two train.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
closer to the two train on
So
White
carry
Plains
on,
Road, but
carry
I
on.
was down the road. So like when we used to play hide and seek, right? We would go. We had a rule. You had to stay in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Yonkers was
Mm-hmm.
at that corner, and Mount Vernon was at that corner. The house we lived in was like right in the corner of two different cities, and you couldn't go into a certain backyard because you'll be in Mount Vernon, and that was not. You're breaking the rules. You know, when we played
Yeah.
hide and seek when we were kids. So we bordered Mount Vernon and Yonkers. So it was like on the edge. Wakefield, you know Wakefield?
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
That's
Wakefield. Yeah.
Wakefield. They had the. I remember the Wakefield cab company. So we were like not far from the Wakefield cab company.
Okay.
So anyway, my my first, and I didn't know this until I moved into the hood. But this we'll talk about that later. The There was a family that lived across the street from the group home, and that family was related to a guy. His name was Tricky T, and he was down with Zulu.
Okay.
So yeah, so I used to hear them talk about Zulu and Tricky T, their uncles, the kids I used to play with. Their uncle was Tricky T, who was a kind of like an artist for Zulu. He had a song out or something before. This was before Sugar Hill. I'm thinking 75, 76. You know what I mean? I'm a kid. So I
Yeah.
didn't start popping until 1980. So we're talking the late 70s. You know what I mean? But I did hear about Zulu Nation. I did hear about Tricky T, and then my brothers, they were in another group home, which was right up the hill on 243rd Street, but up the block, because they were older. So I was with the younger, and they were older.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'd walk up there, or they let me walk up there, take me up there to go hang out with my brothers, my older brothers. And there was a guy up there his name was Earl the Pearl, and he was
Earl the
down with
Pearl.
Zulu. That was his name, Earl the Pearl.
That's
So he was
funny
down with Zulu.
name.
So those were kind of like the connections that I had with hip hop, but I didn't know it was hip hop. I just until later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear it because when I was in that group home, you had counselors there that were mostly white people, white guys. I used to listen to, soft rock, Billy Joel, the Bee Gees. You know what I'm saying?
Bruce Springsteen.
We didn't get it. Yeah. Like I didn't hear the Sugar Hill Gang until, actually, I think I might have heard the Sugar Hill Gang when I was in the group home, and I thought it was pretty badass, But yeah, I think I heard it while I was in the group home, but it really didn't blow up until I moved out. You know what I mean? Until my mother felt well, she felt better. She came one time, I think it was about 10 or 11 years old, and she snatched me up out of that place, and because she was going to court trying to fight for me, and finally she just go on down there, come on, we leave it, grab your bags, and I left. And I remember when I was leaving, the family across the way, they were cheering, they were happy because they didn't like that group home. They were pissed. They didn't like them. So, and they were happy to see me leave because I could go to their house every day and hang out with them. I was real close with them. So they were happy to see me leave. And then I moved to Morris Avenue, right? Where, where was that at? Mount Eden.
Yeah,
Where
Mount Eden,
Bronx
of course.
Lebanon Hospital is. Yeah,
Yes,
Bronx Lebanon
yes.
Hospital was right behind my building. So I was like on the corner of Mount Eden and 170 and Morris, and the Lebanon Hospital was back behind my building.
Is that by the hill? There's like a hill?
No,
Is there a
Claremont
hill
Park is
by
right
it?
across the street. There's no hill. It's flat. Well, there's a hill going up to the Grand Concourse, but it's a slant.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
what I'm
like a
saying.
hill. It's like a little slant. Yeah,
Yeah,
a little
but it
slant
kind of
going to
feels, because
Mount
I
Eden.
remember rollerblading down them.
Yeah. So I moved into the building up in the 5th floor, apartment 5G. I remember that. And I remember the first week that I moved into that place. And remember, I'm a kid. I think I'm 11 or something like that. I see
Mm-hmm.
them pulling a body out of a building across the street from me. Now I'm coming from White Plains Road, hanging out, living with white people, and postcard neighborhood when it snows or on Christmas. You know, I'm coming from that. Totally innocent. I'm not. I know nothing about the hood. I am not hood at all. You know what I'm saying? I'm first of all
Yeah.
a kid, but even kids back then had some street smarts. I didn't have none of that. That wasn't me. Because when I was living in Queens at 4 or 5 with my aunt, that was Ozone Parkway. That's all houses too. It was all nice. That was the life I saw as a kid until I was about 11, 12. Then it, boom, whole new life. When I got taken out of that group home, my mother took me out. Boom, Morris Avenue. Boom, I see a body coming out of out of the building. So it was just a super quick change. Like, oh, where the hell? What am I doing here? What's going on? You know, I was happy to be with my family. You know, because when I was in that group home, there was times when, like, everybody went home for the weekends during the holidays or for the weekends, and I was me and maybe somebody else. I wasn't going anywhere because the courts didn't allow me to do that. You know what I mean? And I was one of the youngest ones there, so it was kind of like it was hard for me, you know, as a kid. Like everybody going to see their families and stuff, and I don't have that. You know, the thing that kept me happy as a kid was my friends in the neighborhood. You know, other kids in the neighborhood that I can go to their house and hang out in their yard or across the street, and the other person, you know, they took me in like family. So, you know, coming into hood, wow, man, it was like, really, this is where I'm living at, you know, this is gonna be my life, you know what I'm saying? But there were some pretty cool things that went on in my house that I didn't see in the group home. And one of those cool things was dance, a lot of music and dance. You know what I mean? My brother Alex, he's gay, and he was a hustle guy. He could hustle. He had a popularity in the neighborhood for hustling, doing the hustle, you know? And people would come to the house, his gay friends, and they'll be in the living room and they're playing music and they're doing the hustle. You know, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, this was kind of different. This was an experience, you know? And so that was different. And then going to school from in the hood, because when I walked to school or took the yellow bus when I was in the group home, I was going nice. Now I'm in the hood, I'm going to school, I'm seeing abandoned buildings on my way to school. I'm like, what? You
The
know,
burnt out buildings.
Yeah, I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I got the pep talk when I went home. My mother took me home. I had my brothers there, and she was like, listen, you got brothers. If anybody fucks with you, you got brothers. Because my mother was kind of a little gangster, you know what I'm saying? You got your older brothers, plus, you know, I had a brother that could box, and so they immediately started showing me how to throw jabs and all that, you know, get me ready to deal with shit, you know, because I was in the hood. I didn't understand. I was still bugging out, you know. I never seen anybody. When I got to my mom's apartment, within the first week, I smelled weed. They were smoking weed in there. Now, the smell was familiar, so I know that when I was at 243rd Street, somebody was smoking weed somewhere around there, because when I got home, I said, this smells like something I smelled over there. So they were smoking over there, but they kept it away from me. But my people, my family did it right in front of me, you know, roll a joint. I'm like, oh, this is crazy, you know, like that's what I was smelling in the nice neighborhood. And I was like, it smells like the same stuff, you know? And they explained to me about weed and said, hey, you know, when you get a little older, if you ever want to smoke this, let us know you want to smoke it. We don't want you doing that shit out on the street. That was the logic, right? We don't want you to mess around on the street and wind up using the wrong drugs or whatever. That was the logic, you know. There's my brother Felix. Well, actually, Felix was in Lower East Side. My brother Alex, right, which is the gay one. Milton, who was the boxer, and then Felix. But Felix was living on the Lower East Side. He had his thing going on down there. He was OG by that time. OG gangster. He was a baby skull or something like that.
Oh,
Savage
wow.
Skulls, but he was a baby skull back in the day.
Okay.
But then he got out of that.
Now, is he the oldest one out of everybody?
Yes, the oldest out of everybody. from a different dad, which I found out later on. But yeah, it was from a different dad. But he was there all the time with us. You know what I mean? So like I said, a lot of music, a lot of dance in the house. You know what I mean? Smoking some weed. There was stressful times, you know what I mean, where, my mom, she's bringing up all of us, you know what I mean? And she's not fully off of drugs. She's a method, you know what a methadone patient is?
Mm-hmm.
So she's a methadone patient so that she can slowly get off. So she wasn't using dope, but she was still getting dosages of methadone. So she's still there, and money is out there. We're on food stamps, welfare, that whole shit. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but and so there was some tough times. And they wanted to toughen me up. So, there was days where my mom comes in stress. I did something wrong. She didn't like it. I got my ass whooped, or some shit like that. Got punished. So there was some really tough. It was not always sweet in the house,
Mm-hmm.
but when it was nice, and a lot of it was music, weed, dance. You know what I mean? Some days it was good food. Right? My mother can cook her ass off, and she would have a good week, whatever, and hook up a nice dinner. Sometimes it would be what she can make happen. A can of Spam feeds 7 people. You know what I'm saying? With some
Yeah.
mashed
So how
potatoes
was
and
your
corn.
Christmas? How was your Christmas compared to the group
Christmases
homes then?
compared the group. Let me tell you something, and that was a tough one too, because I was like the second to the youngest in the group home. There was another kid there named Willie and another kid there named David. So all 3 of us were the kids there. You know what I mean? But Willie would go home with his family. David would go home with his family, and holidays on the weekends. So I was the youngest left in the group home when it was the holidays or some shit like. So in the group, man, I used to get like 25, 30 toy stuff. Everything. It was. I got a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got a lot. I got from the people that ran, because I think it was called Catholic Guardian Society or something like that. So the people that ran the group, I got presents from them, and then extra presents from the counselors and all that, because I guess they felt bad that I was the one stuck there and my family wasn't coming. So they were even giving me stuff. And then the people across the street, I'd go to their house and they had stuff under the trees for me. You know what I mean? So life was really, really good. I had this apple, right? That was pretty cool. And the apple it was like it was about this size, right? It was kind of metallic. And it was like, how the rock'em sock'ems, they don't fall?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this apple was like that. You put it on the ground and you go, and it shines. It makes noises. Bing, bong, ding, dong, ding. It was a cool little apple, Then I also remember getting a vibrating football field. The football guys plug it in, and the guys move.
Oh, and they start
And
moving
that's all the
forward
big
at
people.
each other, right?
Yeah. I remember
I
that.
remember that. I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah, I remember having a Stretch Armstrong. I remember the Stretch Armstrong breaking, like it started bleeding this gooey stuff out of it. I was pissed off because my Stretch Armstrong was bleeding. It was fucked up. I remember getting that. I remember getting a big ass red wagon. I had a red wagon they gave me. So we'd roll down that hill with my red wagon. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So back to your apartment and getting into the seeing the hip hop coming to life and you putting everything together. What year, what time was it that you started kind of like, getting confident in dancing or graffiti or rap or emceeing or whatever you saw that was part of any of the elements of hip hop?
Now I could probably push it up, 81, 1980. I know it was in that area because my first movie that I did was in 1983. So I know
Okay.
it was early 80s that I was. I mean, you can't be in a movie with some dances like the dynamic and all that with that dance skill in unless you've been dancing for a little bit. So I would say around 1980 is when I first started dancing. And my first thing that I got was a moonwalk. And the reason why I learned the moonwalk was because, remember, there was a lot of dancing, and my brother's friends would come to the house. He had a friend, his name was Julio, same name as mine, and he was a dancer. They would do the hustle together and all that. One day, Julio came to the house and said to Alex, "Hey, man, what we're doing is played, man. Check this out." You know what I mean? And he started doing the moonwalk, and we thought he was a god. When he did the moonwalk, we never saw it in our lives. We thought he levitated, like he fucking. We said, "What is that?"
Okay.
Backslide. He did the Michael Jackson backslide,
Mm-hmm.
what people call the moonwalk. He did that,
And you
and
saw that,
we
and
were
what
just
happened?
like, now. What I could say is that implanted in my head, there was a seed implanted in my head. So as soon as he did that, you know what I did? I did
What?
the lock. I could do that. I did the lock. I did the lock, but I didn't know how to lock. I just said, and he said, "Oh no, that's old. That's the rerun." Because he didn't even know the name of it. This is the
Wow.
rerun. The moonwalk. This is the pop watch run on. When I was a kid in White Plains Road, on What's Happening doing his thing. I saw that. That's the first hip hop. Really, technically, that's like the first, but I didn't relate it to hip hop. I just saw the lockers and rerun on TV. But since he did the moonwalk and it seemed kind of robotic and all that, I just related it to and I tried to do the lock. And he said, but he didn't call it the lock. He said, "Oh, that's the rerun. That's old. It's the moonwalk." You
Oh,
know?
wow.
And so, yeah, and I was like, okay, so I need to learn the moonwalk. I need to learn. Show me that. So right there on the spot, Julio was doing a workshop in my house. He was doing a class in my house. And then he said, "Hey, you got to see my nephew," because his nephew, check this out. Now, this is where it starts to get crazy. His nephew taught him the moonwalk. His nephew lived in the same building on Meshulah Parkway that Mr. Freeze lived in. So his
Oh,
nephew learned how to pop and break from Mr. Freeze. Because
wow.
Mr. Freeze was breaking, and then Mr. Freeze was going to California and learning popping. So he was teaching uh, the kids in that neighborhood when he came around, teaching them these moves in their lobby, of the building. So his
Wow.
nephew, his name is Papo, his nephew went by the name of Kid Freeze, but not the head spinner Kid Freeze, just Kid Freeze as Kid Freeze, Mr. Freeze's kid that he was teaching. So
Oh,
Mr.
I
Freeze
see
had
what
Kid
you're
Freeze.
saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze had a little freeze force. He called them Freeze Force. It was Kid Freeze, Baby Freeze, Little Freeze, Tiny Freeze. And Fish, popping fish, the popper,
Mm-hmm.
Fish. He was, he
Yeah.
was, he was, I think he might have been, he was one of but he already knew how to pop because he came from Cali as a kid, popping. So he just got with the Freeze Force, Fish. So
Wow.
Fish was popping freeze, I think. I think he was called popping freeze. So you have popping freeze, Kid Freeze, Little Freeze, Tiny Freeze, Baby Freeze. They all
That's
knew how to break
amazing.
and they all knew how to pop.
Now, do you think that's before
This is this
Flashdance?
is in this is in Meshulah Parkway. Yeah, that was before Flash Dance because I learned how to pop. I learned how to do the moonwalk from Julio, and then Julio told me about Papo. You know what I mean? So I was able to go ahead with Julio to Meshulah Parkway. You know what I mean? And hang out. So I would go with Julio to Meshulah Parkway and hang out, and I was learning from Papo originally. Just vibing with them, really learning how to because I was breaking. So we go in
Nice.
the hallway. I was breaking and popping. You know what I mean? But I eventually I fell in love with popping, but I was breaking. You know what I mean? So, and I kind of we used to call each other cousins. Like Papo, we called each other's cousins
Mm-hmm.
because they were so close to my family. We knew each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Freeze, I wouldn't see him all the time because he was traveling. Once in a while, we'll see Freeze. Once in a while. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the beginning part of it. So I had a little bit of breaking, little bit from hanging out in the hallways, a little bit of popping. The moonwalk, I had fucking faith in it because I learned that first, and I mastered because it was out before I moonwalk. I mastered that. I mastered that and went to a couple of local jams and tried to battle just doing the moonwalk.
Will you clear
I
out the
got the.
way? Clear out.
I
Everybody
just
move
got
out
the
the way.
moonwalk. I'm going to show you this moonwalk. So
So will you
because
move people out of the way?
no, I
Like
was in the
move out.
circle, but I was moonwalking. I was just moonwalking, and
So
I'll
you
turn
move
around and
walking
then
in
moonwalk
circles.
again. Just turn around and moonwalk again, and moonwalk and get in that circle and
So,
moonwalk. That was it. So I wound up mastering that moonwalk and and battled who I can with the moonwalk. Everybody around my way were kind of like beginners anyway. So you know, but that's how I started getting meat because on Townsend Avenue. Well, actually, no, we're gonna go back now. On Morris Avenue, they were not too far from there, just close, Mount Eden, and there
hmm
was a school, Taft High School. There were little jams. There were little jams that they threw that you can go to real quick
Oh
because my
wow.
mom didn't let me go too far. She didn't let me go too far. You know what I mean? So I'd have to run, get a little bit out of this jam, and get the hell out. Do my little.
Was the
And it
Zulu
was
Nation involved there or no?
what with the jams?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get. I didn't. When I started venturing out is when I started seeing Zulu jams and some real DJs in my neighborhood on Morris Avenue, inside the Claremont Park or the schoolyard right behind it, the school where they do their little jams. Those were like they weren't big. They were just like cats that lived in the neighborhood trying to emulate, what they were doing somewhere else, which I didn't
hmm
know about then, but now I know that that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to emulate.
Okay.
Until the dope DJs were in Washington, for me, Washington West Avenue, when I started venturing out to those places where they had dope DJs, the Bronx River, Zulu, that's where the dope DJs. They did have, Zulu did come to LPAC. LPAC was a jam spot. Yeah, yeah. That comes a few years later. I'm a little bit better now at popping, and I'm moving around more. We actually moved from Morris, and now we're in uh, Townsend Avenue, Walton and Townsend Avenue on 172nd Street. One block, Jerome Avenue is there. So now we move out and we're in this, in this area. In this area, there's a schoolyard between 172nd and 170. There's a schoolyard there. And then in 170, you had LPAC. Those two venues, that's when with some dope DJs were playing. You had Zulu that came every now and then to LPAC. And then we had a DJ that played on in the schoolyard between 172nd and 170. It was like a schoolyard there. I don't remember who the DJs were, but it was a good DJ. They had big crowds. They had big crowds there. And I had quite a few battles over there. And good poppers would come out there. And I got a little bit better. That's maybe 2 or 3 years later. So I was moving around. I actually saw a murder over there too.
Wow.
A guardian angel got murdered because they were walking by that jam. And they had those beads on their hat. And they happened to have beads of a crew that was prominent in that area. And they were like, yo, they said something about the beads. Words was exchanged. They got into the fight. Next thing you know, Guardian Angels run towards 170. You hear gunshots. One of the Guardian Angels got killed right there, right on 170 in Townsend. Yeah.
So those days were they really dangerous to be around? This is like when gang culture was out there and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. We didn't have, from my era of that now, like my older brothers are coming from uh, Chinglings and Savage Skulls, Nomads. They're coming from that. I'm coming in on Black Beads, Zulu, red, black, and green, PRT. Uh, I don't remember the colors, but there was another crew called the Rican Encounter. Uh, they had another color. I don't remember the color. Uh, PRT. They had the red, white, and blue because they were Puerto Ricans or Puerto Rican terrorists. You know, we had beads. We had beads. You know
Do
what I
you
mean?
hear about the ball busters around that time or no?
Oh yeah, they were all. This was a little later on, but they were, and they had. I think they had red and black beads, and they were more prominent in Dykeman because they were more. A lot of
Yep.
Dominicans were. Yeah, they were more
Yeah.
prominent over there.
That's where I was born and raised.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
we
my
the
hood
Bull
right
Busters
there.
were. They were a big rival to Zulu.
Yeah, they were. Definitely
Yeah, I
were.
heard a lot of people
Now
got killed.
around that
A lot of
time is
people
like
got.
what, 1981, 82?
I would say around 81, 82. After a year in it, and then 82, I started moving around. 83, that's when I started moving around a little more. I wasn't hitting the street yet. I wasn't doing no street show. I was in the Bronx.
Now around
So
that time, who were your mentors and your teachers that were helping you out, teaching
when
you,
I was
guiding
learning
you?
between 80 to 83,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the first one that gave not gave me guidance, inspired me. There's two people that inspired me because I was going to junior high school 22 at the time, which is on Morris Avenue on 167th Street. And there was a kid there. He was around my age, but he was a little bit younger at the time. Or he was just smaller. He looked younger. Named Eric, right? He was a popper. He was a dope popper because he was around some. I found out who he was around. He was around some bad motherfuckers. So, and since he was a kid, they taught him a lot because he was that kid that could go be in his crew, in their crew, and come out and do something, and everybody would just scream because he had that Q factor. Me, I was a kid too, but I had a mustache at 12, 13. You know what I'm saying? I look a little bit older, you know what I mean? So there was a talent show at my school, junior high school 22. And I saw Eric go out there and he did the fucking tick. They did the line, grab hands and go pop, 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 and pass it and
Mm-hmm.
pass it. They passed it and passed it, and they gave it to Eric, and Eric came out and just started doing his solo. And he had the gold chain with the little name here and all that. He was chilling. They had him queued it up as a kid. Like so
Wow.
they wanted everybody to scream. They wanted to win that contest, and they knew he was a ticket. Right?
Yep.
And the thing is now, and even when I look back at it, I know why they had to have that. The secret weapon was Eric, because the other person that inspired me that day, that same day, right, was Disco Junior. Now Disco Junior, he was a grown man, a young man, right? But he was this was a talent show that the public could be in too. You know how the school opens a talent show to the public too. So they
Mm-hmm.
weren't in his school. When Junior got out there, he had a crew. And his crew came, they were, these dudes had suspenders on, white suspenders on, black shirts, black pants, white sneakers, white gloves, hats. They were uniformed. Like, holy shit. They were sharp. And then
Professional.
they did routines. They did routines, like kind of like the type of stuff that Cali people did, but maybe not as advanced. But at the time when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. I thought they were going to win. Even as a kid, as a young, I was like, they have to win. Look at how dope they are together. Because all they got from the crew was Hen Love, not Junior's crew. The crew that Eric was it was a guy named Hen Love, Nat T, and Eric. Right? Hen Love was smooth with his glides and his stuff. Nat T did like a lot of mime stuff. Motorcycle, pull the rope. He did all that. He was good with that. He was smooth. Nat T was on a good level. Hen Love was okay. And then you had little Eric, who was cute and could, mimic stuff, right? And he went to that school. So obviously, they did it by applause. The knowledge at a young age that I had performance-wise, like as a young age, I said, these guys they're the performers. These guys were right. They're professional. They look good. I'm saying this as a kid in school, saying they should have won. You know what I mean? And I was, so Junior was one of my inspirations. That his crew was one of my inspirations,
Wow.
and Eric, you know what I mean? Because Eric was right, not too far from me, on the Grand Concourse, so I could go to his house in his hallway and pick up some, and go back and forth with him, pick up some stuff. He picked up, we vibe, we, leveling up, practicing together. You know what I mean? Where Junior, I didn't know he came to the school, then I didn't see him. I don't Probably about a year or two later, I didn't see him until that. He just came to the school, kicked ass, and then he was gone. But he was my OG at the time. My inspiration, my OG at the time was him. You know what I mean? So
Amazing.
Eric at the time and Disco Junior. I wind up meeting Disco Junior later on. I was introduced by Disco Junior to my boy Scooter. Now, in my area of the Bronx, and I sent you a picture of people that are my inspiration, right?
Yes.
And I got a few people there.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of them. He's wearing the red.
Is it this one right here?
Yes. So the one with the red on the bottom, that's Scooter. And then the one in the middle, that's Disco Junior. I went to go see him in Jacksonville, and we had us Old English 800 for old time's sakes.
That's
So
awesome.
we used to drink that. Yeah, and then the one
Who
on the
else?
top, that's Scott LaRock. That's Scott LaRock from Boogie Down Productions, right?
Wow.
He took me on my first tour, and we were good friends, me and Scott LaRock. Like, I'm not really cool with KRS-One. I was really cool with Scott LaRock.
Amazing. And he's always mentioning Scott LaRock.
Yeah. And then you got Shake, Shake, right?
Of course, Shaky Shake.
And then you got Float Master John with the tan. He's the one that mentored me on the streets, the first person that showed me how to hit. You know what I mean? So these are my like heroes, my mentors, my inspirations. But yeah, so those are the guys. So Scooter, well, I'm gonna go back to the neighborhood I was in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where I was at. Remember I mentioned Nat T, he did the mime.
Yes.
Nat T was considered a heavy duty. Like, I wouldn't have battled him at that time. I'd get fucking smoked. He was a heavy duty, right? Chet, they called him Chet, heavy duty. Scooter, heavy duty. You know what I mean? Like, nice with his shit. We had Papa La Corey. It was like an iffy. He was better than Hen Love that I mentioned was down with Nat T and Eric. He was better than Hen Love, but not really. Me and Papa La Corey were probably in the same, because I wasn't fucking with them. They were the guys. You know what I mean? So Papa La Corey, Mr. Wave, Tony.
Yes.
He was, you know what I mean? He was not a heavy duty. We were there. With time, we started getting better. You know what I mean? Corey was more, Papa Lock Corey, he was more into looking good, stylish, getting the bitches, making money. So he did enough, in a cypher to get recognized, but he didn't care about smoking or nothing like that. Mr. Wave wanted to be the best, and he tried his hardest, and he did good. He was good. He was good, but he was limited on what he can do. Where me, I had more rounds. You know what I mean? Because I was learning from more people. Scooter was one of them. Scooter was smooth. He had nice glides. We used to say mannequin Scooter because he used to do like a robot, like a mannequin type style, and we praised him for that style. So now we're going into junior. So we praised him with that style. And this is around the time that I'm starting to move around in the Bronx now. With me and my mother's bumping heads, I'm running away. I'm staying out late. I'm rebelling. I'm the black sheep. I'm doing what I got to do. I'll take an ass cooking when I get home. You know what I mean? So I'm moving around. So I go to a Morris Avenue jam, right? On Morris Avenue, right near between 170 and 171st. Or 169. You still got me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So 170 and 169th Street, right? On Morris Avenue, there was a guy named Ernest that used to play music on the sidewalk, plug his system from the apartment and play the music on the sidewalk. So this was not even in a schoolyard. This was just on a sidewalk, and you just have to, watch the cars. You dance on the sidewalk. If you get out on the street, you just have to watch the cars. Cars were going through. They didn't close shit. And I remember Scooter saying to me, "You think I got a robot? You think I got a mannequin? Check this dude out." And I didn't remember that it was Junior, from that crew that was at the school. And Junior goes out and he does this, just like, I was like if Scooter is telling me, you think my shit is, I check this guy out. Scooter is a top dog. You know what I mean? Junior goes out and does a robot, and I go, holy shit. I always thought Scooter was the best, but I realized, no. But the thing is that Junior, that's what Junior did. He was just the robot. Scooter was robot, but he had hammers and touch and glides and all that. Junior was just a robot. And he had the big ass boombox with him. Junior was Radio Raheem. He stayed with a boombox. With a boombox. A big ass boombox. And he duct taped the boombox red or blue or whatever color and designed it with duct tape and put his name on it or whatever he did, or painted it, put his name on it and all that stuff. It was just crazy. And he had all types of boom boxes. He actually eventually wind up hitting with me downtown a few years later. And he was
That's amazing.
Brought the radio downtown. He was the guy to bring the radio and do the music, make the tapes. He would make a tape on Thursday night, knowing that we're going to meet Friday, and he'll have a tape for the first half of the day and then new music for the second half of the day to get us hyped up again so we can keep dancing. That was Junior. He was the sound guy. He was the boombox guy. But yeah, so I officially met Junior on Morris Avenue, hung out with him, found out where he lived at on 167th Street, and started hanging out in his building. You know what I mean? And he's also a DJ. Junior's also a DJ. Been DJ for years. So he lives here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's got all the old records and all that. He's a very innocent guy. He's out of the politics.
Is he still spinning?
Yeah, he hasn't been tampered by the politics.
Okay.
And influenced. If he comes to a jam, he's bringing his white gloves. That's what type. If he comes to a jam, awesome. he's bringing his white gloves, and he's doing his robot the way it was done. He's not trying to be nobody else. He's doing what he does best, and it's very, very traditional and so old school. You can still see the robot, and the thing is it's not about that. It's about nostalgia, right? It's like,
yes,
when you see it, you're gonna be like, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna get tickled inside. You're gonna be like, this guy's innocent. This guy is doing his best. This guy's he hasn't changed a bit. He's doing that's the realest that you can get. You know what I mean? Like traditionally, you can get the golf cart. The golf club. He's gonna hit the ball, look at it. He's gonna roll the joint, smoke it. He's gonna hit the wall. He's gonna do. He's the robot. He's traditional. He's gonna have the white gloves. He's gonna do the Stevie Wonder. He goes down. He does the Stevie Wonder. He's that guy.
Were you into Shields and Yarnell at that time, or you weren't watching that?
Oh yeah. Now Shields and Yarnell's I remember seeing as a kid. This is back in the group home days. I remember seeing.
Also, okay. So go ahead.
But I didn't relate Shields and Yarnell to hip hop. I related locking to. Matter of fact, I didn't even know it was hip hop because I was even being introduced to hip hop. I didn't relate Shields and Yarnell to the moonwalk. I related locking to the moonwalk for some reason. I didn't start doing the robot. I started doing my version of locking. The only reason why Julio knew I was trying to lock because he seen me do my thing with my arm. And he said, oh, that's the rerun. But I didn't relate Shields and Yarnell to street dance. But I do remember seeing them. And then once I realized I was doing popping and waving and doing all these things and seeing the robot, then I started saying, holy shit, Hughes and Yarnell, this is what they were doing. They were roboting. They were, then it came to me. You know what I mean? When I first got it checked, it was for the movie That's Dancing in 1983. And the Dynamic Breakers or Rockers, I don't know. I get confused with them because they broke up and one became Rockers, one became Breakers. But the half that Spider was with, I'm just gonna say that. The half
Dynamic breakers.
yeah, so that half. They were in the movie. I'm gonna tell you how I got the movie.
And what's
Got
the
the
name of the
movie.
movie?
That's Dancing.
That's Dancing, and that was in 1983.
That was in 1983. That movie came out. Yep. And because remember there was a whole bunch of movies called That's Entertainment, showing all the
Mm-hmm.
old films, West Side Story, Liza Minnelli, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, all that. So they had a thing called Dance Entertainment, but they
Mm-hmm.
decided to do one called That's Dancing, a spin-off of That's Entertainment. So how I got that gig was I was actually walking through a neighborhood in the Bronx, not with. Remember,
Okay.
again, I was doing my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was actually staying with a friend because I had ran away from home, so I'd be away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was staying with a friend, and these white boys in a station wagon, pull up to me, and I'm thinking, stranger danger. I know that part. Stay the fuck away.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they have this. I had this graffiti hat on, and they rolled down the window and they said, "Hey, you got. I noticed your graffiti on your hat. Do you know where I can find graffiti? Like we want graffitis. We're looking for graffiti in the area." And I was like, I did know about a big mural. It was a building with a big mural, right? So I was around on 161st Street. There was a big graffiti mural. I think it might have been around 161st Street, near where the handball courts were. So I do remember seeing that, and I said, "There's one over here with this." I'm answering, and then they said, "Well, thank you," and then they say, "We're filming a movie, and for you helping us, we're gonna give you, get your contact. Go get your parents. Tell them to come down here. Get our contact or whatever." So I got the woman, my buddy's friend, his mom, to come down to take the information. You know. Now my mom went to the shooting, but of the film, but I didn't want to. I was talking to these people from a distance because they were in the station
Yes.
wagon. So I went up to the building and said, "Hey, can you come down and get some information? These guys are going to put me in a movie." So she was like, came down, boom, boom, was talking to them, boom, got all this information, gave her information, and that was it, right? And then I took that information and I took it to my mom. I went home and said, "Mom, I'm gonna be in a movie, blah 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 blah." "Oh yeah, right, whatever, whatever." She didn't believe it, but somehow I don't remember how it all connected, but she got the location. Okay, what I was saying is I don't know how all the information, how she got the information between the lady I was staying with and my mom and how it happened, but it happened. And my mom was taking me down to the location where they were filming.
Now, did they know that you were a dancer?
Yeah, I told them I was a dancer. That's how I had the graffiti hat. Yeah, I mean, we were talking, that I was a dancer.
That's amazing.
That's why I wore the graffiti. I said, I'm a boogie boy. You know what I mean? That's how I got that. And when they were coming down talking, when my buddy was a dancer too, but they didn't take him for the film. The buddy I was staying was a dancer. His name was Sean. He was okay. You know what I mean? So he was trying to get in on it too. So yeah, we told him what we were. Once she came down here, we started running our mouths. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're a dancer or whatever. You know what I mean? So, somehow my mom got the information. It happened. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And it was down at the Graffiti Hall of Fame on 103rd Street because they had a whole bunch of graffiti there.
El
We went
barrio.
down there. Right. That's where it wound up being. We got to go to Harlem. We went down there. My mom's had to fill out these, what do you call these forms, because I was too young, so we had to fill out these forms. Fill out the forms so I can get in the movie. And then I remember my mother going, she went crazy because fucking Gene Kelly walked right past her, right? And she goes, "Oh my God, that's Gene Kelly." And I'm like, "Who the fuck is Gene Kelly? I don't know who Gene Kelly is because he's older now. Like he's older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who the fuck Gene Kelly?" Uh, she said, "Singing in the rain, singing." And then I remember watching, singing in the rain. Oh, that's the guy that tap dances. I said, he old. And she was not only in love with him for a star, but she thought she could get with him. She was like, he was a handsome man to her. Like, you know what I mean? He was, for her growing up, he was a handsome man, him and Gene Kelly, Freddie Astaire and them. So she had a crush. So she was just staring him down.
And you're watching this. You're watching this. She got the
I'm noticing
googly.
it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm noticing it. You know what I mean? I think somebody else. I think there was a white boy there named Cormac. That Cormac, he was a good waver. I saw these are new poppers that I'm meeting now. Cormac was dope with the waves and all that shit. And I think I remember him saying something like that. He said, "I think your mom is in love." Yes, she got the autograph. I got the autograph. It's in my room right there. She
That's
laminated
awesome.
a Gene Kelly autograph. Yeah, so we did a part with Gene Kelly. I was younger, popper. I didn't know much. So
How old? You think 16, 17?
1983, probably around maybe about 14, 15, maybe 16. Could be.
Wow, because I know the movie probably came out a few years later, right?
Yeah, I was a minor, so I was still under 18 because she had to sign the papers.
Is this the movie? Tell me if this is the movie.
The style, the moves, the heart, the beat,
Yeah, I think this is
That's the
I think
trailer,
this
right?
was the, yeah, I think this is the trailer.
the
Yeah.
heat.
Man, them brothers is dope.
That's
I sent you a picture of the
Starts Friday.
picture I sent you, right? Cormac is in that picture. I have the black Kango on. I'm leaning on Gene Kelly or on the chair. It's a
Let me
newspaper
see.
article.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw the newspaper. Is it this one?
Yeah. See me in the Kango right beside Gene
Yeah,
Kelly, and
that's
then
so awesome.
and they go Spider with the red, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Cormac right there, and then the
Who's
girl.
that at the bottom doing the
The,
spider?
I think she might have been part of Dynamic, but I don't remember who she was.
That's so
Because
awesome.
she's doing the Spider too, so it could have been Spider's student. You know, that's the first time I
Now,
saw dancers at that yeah, of that caliber. That's the first time I seen dancers like that.
so you saw
Breakers.
so you're in That's Dancing, and
Yeah.
how long was the filming for?
I think we only filmed one day, but it was a long day. We filmed one day.
For you was like the longest you've ever done in your life, right?
Yeah, it was a long thing. I mean, the check was probably about 500-600 bucks. It wasn't much, about
And
but
for you at
at
that
that
time, what
time,
did
yeah,
you say when you saw the check?
I was like,
Or
oh
your
shit,
mom saw the check?
yeah, $500 check. That helped out a hell of a lot,
Now,
because
did
we
your
were
mom get
struggling.
the check and she looked at it and she was like, "Oh my
Well, I get
God."
the check, I got to cash it, so I didn't have a bank account. My mom, listen, she was kind of street, so she got that check cashed at the local grocery
Yeah,
at the
don't worry
bodega.
about it. Yeah,
we got
I was there too, and then there were a few checks I couldn't cash, and
Yeah, bodega.
it
Go to
is
the
what it is.
bodega. Yeah, so she made it. She made it happen. You know what I mean? She made it happen.
Now, question: if you would go back to being a kid again, what would you tell yourself? Like, let's imagine you back at that time, even before doing That's Dancing. If you could talk to Little Clown, what would be an advice or something you would tell Little Clown?
As sad as it sounds, for the life that I had as a kid to a teenager, I would have rather have stayed Little Clown if I had the knowledge. I would have rather stayed in the group home.
Wow. And why is
That
that? Unpack that.
because
Unpack that.
I was in a good school. You know what I mean? I had good people around me. I lived in a good neighborhood. You know what I mean? I would have probably got a way better education. You know, went to a better school. You know what I'm saying? It would have. I think I would have did better. I mean, I've seen older kids come out of that group home. You know, uh, that went to Cardinal Hayes, Mount Saint, I forget the name, but good schools and got good educations from being in that environment. So when I got that was taken away from me when I got taken away from the group home. Now
So you will
the conversation we wouldn't be having this conversation.
that I was gonna get to that. So you
Yeah,
will tell
we
will
wouldn't.
you
It wouldn't have
tell
been. It probably
yeah,
wouldn't have been. I probably wouldn't have been popping.
will you tell little clown, hey, stay in the group home. Don't go to your mom's. You would have said that?
I would have said that because the conditions that I were brought into were not the best. But those same conditions are the reason why I became who I am today.
Yeah,
Is
you would
because of
have
the
not
conditions.
traveled, you would have not been in Cirque du Soleil, you would have
Well,
not
you know,
done all these movies.
I might have got a good education and made some good money and become something and probably did, something completely different.
That's
I'm
dancing.
happy the way it turned out, but the road was rough in the beginning. It wasn't sweet. You know what I mean?
Now, in that time, were you meeting like all the big heavy hitters after you started doing that movie? Because I remember hearing that you came out and in fact, I'm gonna show it to you and tell me if you remember you coming out in this movie because I remember somebody a long time ago. In fact, he's no longer with us, and talking about Alex Kid Dynamo,
Yeah,
and rest in peace. And that's a brother right there that he was one of my mentors, and you know that he traveled with
yeah,
me all over. And I remember I think we were in Arizona in a hotel somewhere, and we're both watching TV. You know, usually when you go on tour, you go to the hotel, turn on the
yeah,
TV, you try to flip through channels,
yeah,
and then halfway through a movie, we see people like ballet dancing and doing all these things, and then Alex out of nowhere goes, "Clown was in that movie," and I go, "What? Clown?" I said, "Yeah, man, he was in that movie."
show me it because I don't remember it.
And then I go, "Really? Damn it, Clown's been dancing that long?" He's like, "Yeah, man, Clown's been around since the '80s." Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect, perfect.
So
So yeah, so
so
Alex was
that
telling me,
so
he's like, yeah, he was in this movie, and I was like, what? I can't believe he was in that movie. He said, yeah, man. So we keep watching it, and I'm like trying to look for you. I'm like, where's Clown? So I'm like trying to figure out. And tell me if you came out in this
all
movie.
right.
So, how much do I owe you?
Because remember, in the '80s, I wasn't fat.
What movie is that?
Oh yeah, that's rooftops.
Rooftops, right? Were you
Yeah,
in that movie, right?
that's me. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, but this wasn't like early '80s. This was rooftops was maybe late '80s or '90s.
Yeah. So was that before
Goodness,
That's Dancing or
Tisha Campbell did the. You know who Tisha? Yeah, no, this was after that dance. I'm telling you, this is late '80s.
because I know in the top and the rooftops, of course.
This is old. I mean, this
That's
is not as old as that's dance.
no, but I'm saying I was with
Yeah,
Alex and we're watching this halfway through the movie. He mentioned that, and then the
right.
awful thing that he told me was like, "Guess who else was in that movie?" And I was like, "Who? Steve Love." I was
Yes,
like, I
Steve
was
Love
like,
was a roller
"What?"
skater. Steve
Yeah,
Love was a roller skater in it.
I couldn't
White
believe
boy,
it.
Lose Bruce was in it.
And he had like
Uh,
a mohawk, right?
yeah, yeah.
I couldn't believe it when they told me that. So now,
You know
so
what was
let's carry on.
crazy
Yeah, go ahead,
about
go ahead.
that is like when the audition for that movie. when they had the audition for that movie, I remember seeing uh, these guys working out on 50th Street. I think it was, I don't know if it was rhythm technicians, but it was Wiggles, and then they were working out, and and then there was us, the hitters, and we were like, yo, they working out. They're gonna go to that audition. They're gonna take it from us. We need to, we need to have our shit. And then at the end of that audition, it was me and Wiggles. But
Oh snap!
I won it because I did the slow motion. They liked the slow motion. They loved that. Wiggles was going out there doing some crazy shit, and they actually asked Wiggles, "Yo, show me that. Let me see that move again." So they were impressed with Wiggles, but they didn't want what he was doing for the movie. They liked my slow motion. So that's why in that video you see Tisha Campbell doing she's hitting me and I'm moving like slow motion, and she hits me here, and I just go through like that. You know what I mean? It's like a
Hey, so what's your
quick
main part
number.
in the movie?
Tisha
What's
Campbell,
your
you know
main
who that
part?
is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's the main part in the movie that you're like highlighted a lot? So I could
I
find it
just
right
got that
away.
one part, the dance scene at the end.
Oh, on the rooftop, right?
It was in not on the rooftop. It was in like an alley, a garden. It was supposed to be a garden in the movie that they went to most of the times. It was in a garden that had a platform. I was filmed on the Lower East Side in an actual garden. Until Dash Dancing, all I saw was what was in my neighborhood, right? Then when I got the
Okay,
Dash
go ahead.
Dancing gig, now I'm seeing dynamic and I'm seeing Cormac and another styles of dance. And these guys were excellent too. That dynamic, they were dope. And then Cormac with his waves and his smooth stuff like that. I was like, wow, I was impressed. I was like, and I think, if I remember correctly, he was the first white boy I saw doing it. So I was just like, oh, this white boy is nice. So that also impressed me, how nice he was, and he was white. I'm coming from the Bronx. All I saw was black or Puerto Rican. Most of the time I saw black because for some reason I took that route. Eric was black, Junior was black, so I hung out where they were. The only time I hung out with Puerto Ricans was when the very beginning when I learned to moonwalk, and that was, Papo and Julio up on the Shula Parkway. But when I wanted to learn more and I started venturing out, it was mostly all black dancers, maybe one or two Latinos.
Did they name
But
you
I saw
Clown already,
Cormac.
or you didn't have that name?
No, I didn't get the name Clown until a little bit later, probably around a little bit after Dash Dancing. And it was because of the way I dressed, and because I used to try to battle and do, silly shit, make people laugh.
Like the Burns, the funny
But
Burns.
yeah, but a lot of it was the way I was. I used to have the rubber bands on my ankles, or the shoelaces on my ankles, to tie not my ankles, my whole shit from the ankles all the way up to the knees. I had shoelaces around there. That was the style at that time. And so my pants would look baggy from my knees up to my waist. They looked kind of a little bit baggy because everything else was like tight from the rubber bands or the shoelaces. And then I
Okay,
had,
okay.
my Kango, and I had my Jerry curls, and the Jerry curls would stick out a little bit. So I had that kind of funny look, you know what I mean? And then I had a funny, kind of like a funny style. I did some character type shit. So people, one guy was like, "Yo, man, I was thinking maybe I should call myself Puppet, or Rubber Band Man, right? These are the names that I was thinking about calling myself. I remember I was talking to somebody. I said, you should just call yourself Clown, man, because you got that style. I'm not, the guy told me, I don't know who it was. It might have been Scooter. I don't know who it was that said that, but I'm not clowning you. You know what I mean? I'm just saying you got that style. That's what you know what I mean? And nobody has that name. You got people that got Rubber Band. You got people that got Puppet. You got all these names. Nobody's gonna. You're Clown. That's you. I was like, you know what? Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to compete with nobody or nothing like that. Fight for my name. It's a different name. It's gonna ring bells because I'm the only one calling myself that. In my head, I'm thinking, I think that's gonna do good. I didn't. I just did Clown. Later,
That's awesome.
later, I said, okay, spell it. Let me spell it different. again, you need to look up Rooftops. I think Rooftops was late '80s or maybe the early '90s. I mean, that's later
Okay.
on. Yeah. So before, from 1983 to that point, that's a good extended amount of time
Yeah. So
to
after
to
That's Dancing,
Rooftop.
what happened?
So there was that's dancing. I started doing some gigs. Started doing some gigs with a local martial artist. His name was JB Le Puppet.
What was his
JB Le
name?
Puppet. JB Le Puppet. I wasn't traveling. I was just doing local gigs in the Bronx because that guy JB Le Puppet, he wore many hats. He was a martial artist. He was a dancer. He was a James Brown impersonator. Like he does the James Brown tribute stuff. So he would give us gigs. I mean, I lived on Morris Avenue. No, remember I told you it was Townsend, right? Townsend Avenue and 172nd Street. He lived, and Jerome Avenue was right there, and then the building right across the street that he lived knew me, and he knew some other dancers. He knew Son of Pop, a couple other dancers. So he would give us these tuxedo jackets, these burgundy tuxedo jackets with the tail and everything, put us in uniform, and we'll go to the Parkside Plaza on Mount Eden Avenue where they had a wedding or something and give us a gig there. So we did local gigs with JB the Puppet. I started doing some local gigs with JB the Puppet, which I
And
want to
then
try to
after that,
find him because he might have some footage. Um, and then, so I made a little bit of money there, but those wasn't constant gigs. Those were once in a blue moon. And they weren't that much money, $50. You know what I mean? But at that time, for me, it was, no,
hmm
$50 is $50. But that was every, what, few months or something like that. It wasn't a lot of gigs. So really, when I started making some money, my hitting started on Fordham Road.
oh,
So
okay.
I stayed in the Bronx. Even though me and my mom was having it out and I was staying out, something like I never dared to go downtown or get on a train or do none of that. That was like really like I'm bugging. You know what I mean? So I was Fordham Road trying to make money, and that's when the hitting thing started. And when the hitting thing started is when a lot more gigs started coming. Because when you're out there, people are giving you cards. And in this early stage of dance, being out there, there were some important people that passed you. So that's when I started making some money. Other gigs or commercials or things. And a lot of times when you're hitting, you don't have to audition. A lot of times they see you out there, they just want you. Hey, come here, we want you. The audition was out there on the street. Yeah, I didn't do the audition scene. We just went, we got the gig. Like Cormac and people like that, Sam and Little Shake and Stretch and people like that, they did the audition scene. They knew what was going on. They knew how to, they either had agents or people that they knew, right? So, or, Rocksteady Crew, these people, they were established and they knew the audition scene and they were going to, because sometimes we would get a card and they'll say, hey, come to this audition, and we would see them there. But because somebody saw us on the street and said, come to this audition, and then we would see those people there. And those people would just be, man, we went to an audition when, I think it might have been Sam, I'm not sure, but it was somebody that had just saw us out on the street. You know what I mean? And then somebody, we had already got a card for the audition, but we didn't know that person was going to be at the audition. We went to the audition and we saw that person there. And we got a little upset. It was like, yo, you going to just pass us and not tell us about the audition? Like, you chilling with us talking and then you ain't going to share the love? We got to find out for ourselves. That happens a lot. They won't even tell you. They'll hit with you on the
What?
street. They'll chill with you. That's still happening now. They don't tell you about the audition. They don't tell you about that. They're not sharing no information because they don't want that competition. Less chances of them making the audition. And it's not about competition or who has the highest skill. It's a lot of times when you go to an audition, they're looking for a specific personality, person that fits the whatever they're looking for. Once in a while, your skills do get you the part as well. But perfect example, when I got the part Rooftop, with me and Wiggles at the end, as far as the street dance was concerned. Wiggles was fucking doing splits and all types of crazy stuff. I just did the slow motion, and they liked that. They liked that character, so they gave me the part. So sometimes it's not about skill; it's just about a look, what they want. You know what I mean? After that, it's in maybe a couple, maybe a few years later, I start working with JB doing some things, but that was like $50 every 6 months. No, it was not. It wasn't enough to help me for me to help my mom or do anything. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I was still wearing hand-me-downs for my brothers. You know, after they finished wearing their sneakers, I'll get the sneakers or pants or shirts or whatever. So it wasn't that type of thing. It wasn't until I started hitting, you know what I mean, that I was bringing in more money on a daily basis. Well, when I was on
And things
Fordham,
started changing. Things started changing at home.
well, no, because I wasn't really getting it like that. But I wasn't getting it like that. Yeah, you know, you know what I'm saying? Because Fordham, I come back with $20, 10, $15. It ain't helped a little bit, but it wasn't. It wasn't until I got out of Fordham, and started and ventured downtown. And I ventured downtown because somebody saw me at Fordham and said, "Yo, you need to go downtown to Manhattan. Motherfuckers down there is getting money. This is not where the money is. You got to go down there." And I was like, "All right. I mean, shit, that sounds like a good idea, but how do I get to Manhattan, right?" Like I asked, how do I get to Manhattan? My man, you know. I didn't know nothing about it. How do I get to Manhattan? I'd never been to Manhattan. I'd never been to Manhattan. I ain't gonna say never. When I was a kid and I was in a group home, we would go down to Manhattan to the group home, the Catholic Guardian Society, to go there for like a meeting or whatever they needed. They needed to have us come down there. The kids come down there, whatever. So I would ride down to Manhattan by a car or van. So I need to learn how to. This guy tells me this. How the hell do I get to Manhattan? How do I go downtown? So I didn't go down. I was afraid. I didn't go down by myself. You know what I mean? The first time I was on Fordham Road, and I had Papo with me, and I think it was it might have been Tiny Freeze and Papo. So it was three of us hitting on Fordham Road. So it was like, how do we get downtown? Get on the D train. We're not too far. D train's right there at Grand Concourse. Get on the D train, take that down to 59th Street. It goes express. Take that down there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, Papo, you want to do this? Let's go. Go downtown. D train, 59th Street. Get off down there at 59th Street, and we start hitting. We didn't even have. We had a little radio and we had a shoebox. And we wasn't even passing the hat. We were just letting people come up and give us money. And we were just going down. We were just dancing. People were just giving us money. Even the police watching us. Because this is new now. This is new. Popping and breaking is new. So they're amazed too. People are paying us. You know what I'm saying? So the wallet got a little bit bigger. But it wasn't that much. But it was a little bit bigger. Actually, my mom at some point thought I was selling drugs when I started coming back with money.
Wow.
She was like, you ain't dancing, what you doing? So that turned into something. To the point where, we got into some fights. But 59th Street Columbus Circle was the first spot I hit from Fordham Road. And it was easy to get on the D train, go down, and then take the D train back up to 170 because it let you off on the 170 Grand Concourse. Walk down the hill and I'm at home. So that was safe for me. You know what I mean?
What year would you say that was?
Start hitting.
Because you said it was after That's Dancing. So I'm going to say, what, 84,
I
85?
would say 84, 85. About 84, 85.
And did you meet any of the hitters or no, not yet?
Yeah, I wind up eventually running into, that's when I ran into John. John was the first hitter I ran into. He came.
John,
We were at 59th Street.
aka
John Rich, Float Master John. Float Committee.
nice flow committee. Wow, shout out
And
to him.
he was like, listen. He saw us, and he was like, listen, you guys are at the wrong spot. And he pulled like this wad of money like this. That I'd never seen that much money in my life. Now it might have been all singles and some 20s on top and all that, but it was still,
But
it was
still,
a stack. It was like, where do you get that from? Show us. He said, you got to go down there, man. I'm going home. He was going home. He was getting ready to go up to, he was coming 59th Street. He was getting ready to go up to 72nd, I guess, or somewhere. I don't know why he was kept on going, but he was going home. And we went down there. We ventured down there. And I was scared because it was like none of us, Papa was young too. We didn't know Manhattan. We walked down there. We saw all the lights at Times Square. We were like, how are we going to get back home? We don't even know how to, where was the train station that we left? Where's the D train? We were like lost in Manhattan. We were lost in Manhattan, this big city, you know what I'm saying? When we got down there, though, we ran into the rest of the flow community because John was hitting by himself. We ran into Wayne, Doug, and Poe and all them. And we battled. We wound up battling because they had their crew. We had a little crew, you know what I mean? So we wound up battling, and then we were afraid to ask them if we could work with them. So we just battled, and then we went about our business. They went their way, we went our way.
that's
But
amazing.
and then we found our way back home eventually, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have much money because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, and we tried to follow what John said, go down there. And we didn't know the spots. We didn't know where the spots were. We were just in the middle of Times Square.
So
You
what
know what I
happened
mean? We didn't
after
know
that?
where to
Like
set.
once you started hitting, you're doing all that stuff. What happened after that? Like, do you start traveling? Do you book a commercial, a music video? How did it transition into doing more professional work?
I got some gigs as a slim dancer. You know what I mean? I got some gigs. But when you went to auditions, there were 1,000 people that were slim. I started getting more of the gigs, the bigger stuff, as a heavier guy. Now, when I went to audition, it was just me and another heavy guy. Or I didn't even, like when I got the Immortal World Tour, right? Now we're going forward, but I'm just going to tell you what happened. When I went
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the studio, it was kind of like perfect timing because as soon as I got in the studio, they had a cipher going, which I never really had a cipher going. They had a big old cipher going. And I remember walking into the room and I remember seeing Travis Payne, which is Michael Jackson's choreographer. But I didn't know at the time that it was Michael Jackson's choreographer. So Travis
Hmm.
Payne, I saw the guy that wrote the whole show. I'm drawing a blank. But he worked with Michael Jackson for years. And somebody else, there was a table that was sitting there. Oh, the girl who was with Michael Jackson for years. So they're there. I walk into the audition place, right? And they notice me. They go, I can see that they noticed me. And they said, they just nod their head and they kind of said, in a way, get in there. So now this is a heated cipher. So I get in there. In there. I take my solo, I start going fucking haywire. I do the fucking worm on the floor. I get up. Everybody's like, ah! You know what I mean? And then traditional audition shit starts happening. You get against the wall, say your name. My name is Julio Santiago with the camera. You know how they do that, right? At the auditions. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Whatever. So I do all that. And then probably about 10, 20 minutes later, the writer of the show, the creator of the whole show, I forgot his fucking name. I know Travis Payne because me and Travis Payne were kind of cool. I was cool with this dude too, but I didn't see much of him because he was so important. He was the creator, right? So I didn't see much of him. But he came up on the side of me, right? And he said, you want to do this show? And I said, if you give me the chance, he said, you'll be traveling for 3 years. I said, that's what I do. He was like, you got the job right there on the spot. He wasn't in front of
What?
me. He just came up to the side of me and said, you got the job. And I got the job because they really, what they wanted was, this is Michael Jackson, right? You're representing
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, right?
Correct.
This is it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he was
This is
supposed to
it.
be this, and then he died.
Yeah.
So our tour was This Is It. We went to all the places that he was supposed to perform at. You know what I'm saying? So we were the This Is It. So it had to be high caliber. They got dancers from all over the world, the best of the best. You know what I mean? So they wanted what they thought was the best fat guy that can get down at the time. They wanted to show that Michael Jackson influenced everybody, even heavy people.
And
He
that's the fly
influenced
right
them.
there. Boom. Right?
Yeah. I hope we don't
Look
get
at that.
knocked off now.
No, I think you won't. I think it's only with video. I think it's only a video. And I'll
Yeah,
showcase. Boom. That was that's
yeah,
like your character, right? When they're doing your makeup.
yeah, yeah.
And what's
You
this
see the
right here?
eyebrow? Yeah, the
Oh yeah.
eyebrow on mine. They wanted me to have the eyebrow because they wanted me to because his dad has that eyebrow, so they wanted me to
Yes.
also represent, his dad in kind of a way. So they said you're gonna hit Michael Jackson's dad's eyebrow. That thing that you showed me, you said, "What's that?" Go
Yeah,
back to
this
that.
right here.
That's a that's now this is very to me an honor. This is I don't know if it still is, but this is a mold of my head, obviously, and it's
Yeah,
in
look
the
at that.
hallways of the headquarters of Cirque du Soleil. It's in the
That's
hallways of the
amazing.
headquarters. So when people, because they do tours, when people go do tours,
Hmm.
they see that
And I see you
in the
met all the
headquarters of Cirque
Jacksons.
du Soleil.
Well, you met all the
Yeah, the
Michael
only one that's not
Jacksons.
a Jackson there is the one with the glasses. That's Greg Fillinganes. Greg
Mm.
Fillinganes is the longtime keyboard player for Michael Jackson for over 30, maybe since Michael Jackson's been Michael Jackson. Greg was his keyboard player.
But now between what year and what year you were doing that tour?
The Cirque du Soleil thing that started, I
Yes,
think,
Cirque du Soleil.
I think that was 2010 to like 2012. I got injured. I didn't do the full 3 years. And the
And you
fact that I
came,
was a big guy moving that fast across the floor, a lot of people go,
and then
"Holy crap!"
you came out in the movie Les Défis, the French film
Yeah, and I did that
with
because
Benji and
she
them.
wanted it. Yeah, Blanca Lee was the director or some shit, or choreographer of that movie, and she saw me with Kafid doing something. I did Just Debut, or something. It might have been Just Debut. It's in France. It's a big dance thing,
Yes,
and
a
I
big
did
dance
it
thing.
on there. And I remember Storm coming to America and say, "Yo, this lady named Blanca Lee is doing a movie. She wants you to." So when I went on, while I was out there with Company Kafid doing theater, they let me take a couple of days off to film the movie. And
Wow.
I went out there and I didn't do the worm when we were filming the movie. I didn't do the worm. You know why I didn't do the worm? Because I knew that if I did the worm, and they call it the worm, I call it something else. I didn't do that move because I knew that they were gonna want. When you film a movie, they take two,
Over and over.
take two. I said I don't want to wind up doing this shit over and over and over again. I'm not gonna do it. So I just went out and did a solo. But she was just like, that thing that you do underground, in her French accent. I want you to do that. I was like, oh God, here we go. And it's exactly what happened. Take two, somebody messed up. Take two, the lighting is not right. Take two. So I'm on the floor constantly doing this damn thing. But the reason why I call it the worm because there was a move like that real slow. You
Yeah,
slide
I
across the
seen
floor
that one. I
slow.
see that one. I,
Yeah,
I, I used to always
yeah.
call it the caterpillar because it kind of looked like a
Yeah, like the
caterpillar.
caterpillar, but no, but well, the worm, when people do this one with the feet, that's
Hmm.
that's called a kick wave, California kick wave. It's not the worm.
California Kickwave.
It's a kick wave, right? But then you had the one on the back where you did the worm and you move slow this way. You know what I mean? But I wind up taking it and I wind up just putting some speed in it and bouncing it. And I had a little bit of bounce on it too. You know what I mean? And I think where people started doing it may have been from Cricket, because Cricket did it in one of those movies. So of course
Yeah.
he put it on a bigger venue. So they probably got it from Cricket, but Cricket got it from me, and I'm saying this live. So Cricket saw me in Tampa because Cricket was with a show, theater show, and
Was that the Rennie Harris show?
I think it was the Rennie Harris show, and I was in
The
Ybor
Roman
City.
Jules? Roman Jules?
I don't know which one it was,
But it
but
was the
they
Rennie
were in
Harris
town.
because I know Cricket was part of it.
Yeah, they were doing a theater show, and I did that in Ybor City. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he picked it up from me from that, but I didn't see him do it until after we met. You know, like after we met, and then with some time, because I've seen him do solos and I've seen him do shows. With some time,
And he still does
I
that.
started seeing him. I started seeing him do that move. So he figured it out and wind up doing the move. You know what I mean? Because I seen him in the show. Because they gave me tickets that night. They were hyped. They saw me out there hitting the streets. They said, "Yo, I'm gonna get you some tickets." They got me some tickets that night to go see the show. Then I seen him a couple times in New York, and I seen him perform, and I never see him do the move. So it probably took him a while before he figured it out. But once he figured it out, he did it, and he did it in um, uh, Step Up or one of those movies. He did it in, and
Yeah,
then
and
I
once he
guess,
did that, you were like, oh man.
but it didn't bother me. I was happy. I was like, "Oh, that's cool," you know. I was happy,
You
you know,
inspired. You
somebody's doing the
inspired
move.
somebody.
Yeah, it didn't make me, you know, I didn't look at it like, oh, you bite me, taking my shit. I didn't do it like that. I was like, oh, cool, there's somebody out there. You know what I mean? That it's actually a pretty big deal on TikTok. There's a few people that do it on TikTok. There's one guy that has a video all about that, and I sent
What?
him the comment. Yeah, it's all about him getting on his back and going across the floor in different areas. And I sent on his comment. I said, hey man, you know, I'm the creator of that move. I put it on there. So I'm the creator of that move. And but you're taking it to another level. That's cool to see, you know, something that I created going to another level. Because he actually gets a lot of hop on it. You can still see it's the same move, but he actually jumps on his back, so he gets a more of a hop than I do. But it's the same move. He's just taking it to another level. It's just like Kid Freeze started the headspins, but you know now the headspins are completely different from when he did it. But he's still the guy that created it. You know what I mean? So I look at it like I created this move, and now people are
And this
taking
is
it to
on
another level.
TikTok? Somebody on TikTok? I don't have TikTok, but
Yeah,
this is somebody
this guy's on
showing
TikTok
people
doing it,
popular?
and then
Showing this viral videos on there?
yeah, yeah, they're viral. And then not only him, but there's a
Oh.
FedEx guy that does it. There's a guy that does they call him the FedEx guy, and he was actually
What?
on the news because he's viral. He was actually on the news on the media about the FedEx guy that dances and he breaks and then he goes on his back and he does this move. And I sent him an email. I said here, and I sent him the link to my video. I said let me show you. You know I can show you better than I can tell you, so you can see the date, how far back. You
Did
know,
they
but they
ever
don't never
respond?
they don't never reply or answer. They just
Ah.
but they can see, you know, I got video footage showing you that this is something that
Now
I've been doing for
the fact
years.
that we're in 2023, people see everything all over and they think they will never run into you, right? Like they
Yeah,
will never
yeah,
know. And you might one day you're at a showing or something and the dude does it, you're like, hey, I created that. In fact, they're
yeah.
probably not
I
gonna
just like
believe you.
I like the recognition. It's cool to to have a move out there that I created. You know that's cool. Like Wiggles had a has the Wiggles walk, that Wiggles walk with with the feet, and that
I
became
seen that
uh,
too,
uh,
the
uh,
scarecrow.
that yeah, that became a big thing on TikTok, like bigger than the move I do. That was all over the place,
And it's crazy
everywhere.
that we're in 2023 and this is actually moving on. In the current state of hip hop culture, what is something you would like to change? We're in 2023 and you've seen the 1970s, you've seen the 1980s, you've seen the golden age of hip hop in the 90s, you've seen the early 2000s. Now we're in 2023. What would you change in the hip hop culture now? What would be something you would change?
Ooh, ooh, man, I love it, man. Like
You still love it, and it's okay because it's not a
Listen,
bad thing. You could keep it the same way and be like, I don't take nothing away from it. I like everything that it is. It doesn't matter. It's not a wrong or right answer.
yeah, I mean, today I'm not too crazy about the music. I do listen to some of them songs of the newer rappers. Some of them are kind of dope, but there's some of them that I don't go too crazy about. I don't remember not liking any hip hop songs around my era of hip hop, 80s and 90s, uh, early 2000s. I don't remember not liking music. I mean, even Vanilla Ice, those type of people, MC Hammer. MC Hammer was entertaining anyway, but it's cool stuff. There was no songs I didn't like. These days, there's some songs that I don't mind changing the channel on. You know what I mean?
Now,
So
will you perform to new music now or no?
there are some music that I would. What do you mean, like new hip hop beats?
Yeah, like music that is out now in the radio. Will you do a show to
Because
any of those
I
songs?
perform to Bruno Mars. We do. I like Bruno Mars. That's not hip. Well, if you're looking at old school hip hop, Bruno Mars is classic. Because remember, back in the days when they played hip hop, they didn't just play. Now, if you're talking about rap hip hop, there are some tracks
Yeah.
that I heard that take the lyrics out, and the beats are dope. There's some beats that I
Uh,
heard that I'd like to do the robot to. That's really cool for the robot, like some dope beats for the even for the robot. They're funky, but the lyrics for some people not too crazy about.
yeah, we'll break it up. But what is something you can contribute to the culture to make it better? And I know you've contributed a lot already, but what is something you will add to now?
To the culture,
Yes.
you know what? I'm already. I think I'm already doing it. I'm
No, I know
already.
you are.
Yeah, I'm already like right now. I do a class once a week. You know what I mean? I teach kids, I'm dedicated to that class. I'm there all the time. I've had people come in and help me teach because there's certain things I can't do on the ground, and some of them want to learn how to break. They don't want to learn how to pop a lock. So I'll teach them
Okay.
top rock. I'll teach them, you know, Brooklyn top rock. You know what I mean? But then I have to have somebody come in and teach them a six step because I can't physically do it, or a CC and those things. But then once they come in, I'll keep them. I keep drilling them and helping them. So with that, and also I teach them a little bit of popping and locking, and they like that too, and some choreography. So, and I'm dedicated to that. Like, even though if people don't show up, I'm still going to keep that class going. I still got kids coming in. So I think that's important. You know what I mean? I think it's important for us to pay it forward. There's people that helped us out and got us. So now we need to, and the Olympics is coming up, and you never know what you're going to create. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know what's going to happen. So I think I'm already contributing contributing in that sense. Is that, and I don't make a lot of money for these
Absolutely.
kids. This is at a community center that they get a percentage, I get a percentage. So I'm not making a lot of money. It's one day a week. It's just
And you love doing this.
I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. It gives me, something that I can. These kids I share my knowledge with, and it satisfies my craving for being a dancer, being a hip hopper. Because that's what I did when I first came to Florida back in '95. That's what I did. I created a scene. There was no scene in the St. Petersburg area. There was some stuff going on in Tampa, but there was not much going on in the St. Petersburg area. So I said, I had to be there because my mom was sick and I had to take care of her. So I lived here for about 3 years. I put a lot of stuff on hold, hitting shows, gigs to take care of her, and I created my own scene. That's how the whole skill methods thing happened. I didn't intentionally say I'm going to create skill methods. I'm going to bring these people in. I just wanted to create a scene. So, I got with a local community center. I got the spot where cats can come and practice. I brought the music, and that got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I created a scene. I have most of the skill methods
And a
come
lot of
to
people don't know that you're one of the main originators of skill methods. Like,
yeah. I was not
eh,
intentionally. I didn't even think of it like I wasn't not. I wasn't saying I'm creating skill methods. I was just creating a scene. You know what I mean? I figured if I created a scene and I got to know the b-boys out there, I can make myself at home for the time that I'm here. I'll have access to some hitters. I'll be able to do a couple of competitions because I'm sprouting something up. I can, you know, I have what I had in New York here. So that's what I did. I did it for that. I said I'm going to create my scene. You know what I mean? And then it turned into, because it turned into, you know, somehow it became skill methods. They all came together and they was like, this is skill method. And then I wasn't down with skill methods. I was, I think they had their first reunion. I think it was a 5-year reunion or something like that, or maybe 10-year reunion. I don't remember what it was. I think it might be the 5th year. I think it might have been. I came to where their reunion was. I think it might have been, I think it was in Orlando. I think it was in Orlando because Flip's family was there. I stayed in the hotel there because I came back. I had already left Florida. And I came back and they gave me a shirt and they was like, yo, you're skilled. They told me I'm skill methods. I was like, really? Oh, that's cool. And I was like, yeah, man, you made this happen. You know what I mean? You kind of brought us
so the
together.
name skill methods, where did it come out of? You just
I
came up with
I
it?
didn't make that name. I didn't come up
Also,
with that
you
name.
didn't make it.
No, they created that name. They created their crew somehow. Flips and Venom and Flips and Venom and Cloud and who else was there?
Technique, abstract.
Yeah, Abstract, Technique. You know, Flea came a little later on. Technique got in there. He just kept coming. He just kept coming, and he put himself in there eventually. You know, because the dope cats were Flips and Abstract and Venom and Cloud. Cloud was a kid, and Cloud's brothers. Cloud had both his brothers were dope too. You know what I mean? So those were like the dope cats. Technique just had a lot of heart. Like Technique would try any move and didn't care if he came up with a bone sticking out of his arm. He'd break the shit up. He just had heart. He wanted to learn this shit. And he kept coming. He kept coming. So eventually, he was there. He was present. He worked hard. He battled. Even if he in his mind, he could smoke anybody. You know what I mean? Even though at that time he was just learning and there was a lot of accidents. He was a little sloppy. He was rough around the edges. But eventually he got good and he was there. He was present. He kept coming. So he became part of the group. I didn't know that they told me you are Skill Methods at their reunion. You got to come down to the reunion. Bam, bam, bam. They gave me the Skill Methods shirt. So we need to take a picture. Everybody from Skill Methods and then Abstract. And then, yo, you're Skill Methods. I was like, I'm Skill Methods. What are you talking about? I was like, yo, man,
That's awesome.
Remember, you brought us together. You Flips always says you were the glue that brought us together. I was like, oh, I guess so. So that's all it was. I didn't think I didn't create the name. It was not my intention to make Skill Method.
So how many years you would say that you've been in the scene, like since the first time you threw a wave as a dancer, in the culture?
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. And I'm glad that we're bouncing back and forth and put this information because there's a lot of stuff that we're forgetting. But
Yeah.
again, remember I told you I started venturing out, started meeting people probably around, I would say 83, 84, 85 type of stuff, going into to different neighborhoods, moving around. So I was always, remember I told you when we get together, we'll just vibe off each other. So I would just vibe and learn by watching, by looking. I never really was instructed, never was really taught until I ran into Magic Mike. Right now,
Just Mr. Pop, right?
I ran around Magic Mike, not the movie, but there was a guy.
No,
named
no,
Mike,
no. But
Mike.
what was his AKA?
No, he was named Mike, Magic Mike.
Also,
There
it
was
is
another
Magic
guy
Mike.
named
Okay.
Yeah, There was another guy named Mr. Pop that was down with Magic Mike that was dope, right?
Oh,
I didn't
okay,
know.
okay.
He was a Puerto Rican. There was T-Boy. He was a Puerto Rican. Magic Mike was Dominican. So now I'm rolling with, the black dancers that I'm hanging out with, Scooter and these cats. But now I'm also, Rodney was on the Grand Concourse at Roosevelt Gardens, that house right up the block from me. Rodney had a mean spider. You know what I mean? Because I had a kid who eventually became Kid Clown that was watching me, that was learning from me. He was inspired by me. And he lived in Roosevelt Gardens. So one time I was on the Grand Concourse and he told me, yo, you want to see this dude? And Rodney did the spider. Rodney Harris. Fame. They call him Fame. He did the spider. And I was like, and I remember, now I'm bouncing back and forth in this, mentioning the spider, that he used to do the spider and stuff like that too. I remember mentioning it. I was like, wow, that sounds wicked, putting your head on your shoulders, doing all that stuff, doing it with the way you pop. Because Mike could talk to you and be telling you things, and when he moves, you can tell, yeah, he's dope. You know what I mean? He's dope. So as soon as I seen Rodney do the spider, I said, Ronnie, come with me, right? Magic Mike, we gotta go meet Magic Mike. I want you to Mike. And he went down and did the spider, and Magic Mike, he said, that's the spider, that's the way you do it. That's what I was telling you about. You know what I mean? So he wound up putting Rodney down with Magic Motion. So now you had Rodney, me, Mr. Pop. Then you had Son of Pop, which is Mr. Pop's student, a couple other people. And Magic was the guy that actually showed me how to throw a wave. Now, because you mentioned the wave, right? So he was the actual guy that actually gave me instructions, gave me a dance class. Besides Julio teaching me the moonwalk, like actually teaching me the moonwalk, Magic Mike was the one that actually said, okay, this is the way you do a hit. This is how you do a wave. And you throw it out like that. It needs to come through the shoulders and through here and be smooth. And I never really see him go all out, but when he was showing it to me, I was like, this is dope, just by the way he's explaining it. It's real animated. It looks real cool, but I never seen him. I used to think he was full of shit. Like, he used to talk about these battles and all these people, but he never really went all out. I'll tell you when I saw him go all out, but I didn't for a while. You know what I mean? But I was learning from him. But I just never seen him go all out.
And you're getting better.
And I'm getting better. My waves are getting smooth, man. I'm getting some nice waves. I'm popping. I'm doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, we're jumping back and forth. I don't know Scooter at the time. See, this is why my memory is, but I don't know Scooter. He tells me about Scooter. Magic Mike is telling me about everybody. He's telling me about the Electric Company. There was a crew called the Electric Company that Fable and Wiggles and all of them were down with. A guy named Alpha. These people. He was telling you, a kid named Spud. These guys are dope. It's Electric Company. That's our rivals. So we need to be ready for them. We're talking Wiggles, Fable. We need to be ready for these cats, right? He's telling me about Loose Bruce. There's a guy named Loose Bruce. He's telling me Black Loose Bruce. He's telling me about Scooter. He's telling me about Chet. He didn't tell me about Shake. He told me about Chet, which Chet is Shake. It's a guy named Chet.
Yeah.
Brother's nice. You know what I mean? So I knew these people. He was telling me all these people and teaching me. So I knew if I ran into them, I knew what I was going to deal with. He was preparing me for the battle, preparing the crew for the battles. You know what I mean? So, long story short, I met Scooter. How I met Scooter? We go back to group home days, my situation, how I was upset. I'm going to explain it to you. I was upset. Things were happening. We're going back. I'm not giving you timelines. I'm just giving you, we're going back. I got in trouble with the law. Bottom line is that I was hanging out and I got in trouble with the law. I winded up in Spofford. Yes, Clown did a bid.
No way.
I winded up in the Bronx in Spofford.
You
You
went
know what
all the
that
way
is?
to.
Spofford.
Of course. I've never been there.
I
Never
wind.
will. But I heard
I was
stories.
in there. I was in there. I was in
So
there.
what happened?
That's where I met Scooter. I had a
You met him at Spofford?
necklace. Yeah, I had a necklace that said Magic Motion. I was representing my group,
Oh.
and yeah, they bring you to hallways, double line, you know, double line. I think Scooter was just a little bit older than me, so he was with some other cats. I mean, they're going this way, and my group of kids are going this. He goes, "Yo, you down with Magic Motion crew?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, tell Magic Mike." I said, "What's up, Scooter?" And I was like, "Oh, you're that Scooter," because he told me about Scooter, Magic Mike. So I'm like, "Oh, that's Scooter." You know what I mean? So I met Scooter in Spofford. Now
That's
I didn't spend a lot of time in
crazy.
Spofford. Maybe a couple of weeks. I think I was in Spofford. It wasn't no big deal. A couple of weeks. Got in trouble running around with some kids. 5%ers. I was a 5%er.
You were a
I was a
five
5%er.
percent as well?
Yeah,
Wow.
man. My name was Born Justice. Born is only shown and proven. I bring it to existence, just like Allah's mathematical. From knowledge of born, I'm born back to knowledge to make my cycle complete.
Wow.
Justice is only
This,
saying penalty or rewards for one's actions and deeds. Yeah, I was a 5%. So
how long were you a five percenter?
I, oh, not long. I like pork too much. I was just kind of just hanging out. I was around the crew. I was trying to fit in where I was at. Get in where I fit in. You know, that was the crew that I was running with. I wound up getting in trouble with the crew. I went to court. Um, I don't know how it worked. I think what wound up happening was, and this is also vague in my head, it's vague. I eventually, I really wanted to go back to the group home. I didn't like my life. You know what I mean? So I think that eventually, I do remember going back to another group home, but it wasn't that one. It wasn't the one down 241st Street, the white folks with the nice houses. It was in the hood. And that's
So
how I
so it's
got in
not you're
trouble.
not getting
There
all
were
the
five
gifts.
percenters. There were 5%ers in that group home. It was in the hood. The group home was in the Bronx in the hood. I went to that and I got connected with that crowd. So it wasn't. I guess the group home that my mother took me from, the way she took me, they were like, "You can't come back." I don't know. We're not taking them back. So they put me in another one, and that's where I got in trouble because me and my mother were bumping heads. So I wound up getting in trouble because I was around 5%ers that were in their group home, and you know, filled my brain up with a lot of stuff. Yo, you're Puerto Rican. That means you're black, which is true. We are black, but we're Puerto Rican. See, if you really think back of the stuff that I'm telling you, I did hang out with Puerto Rican poppers and stuff like that through Magic Motion Crew. You know what I mean? But really, a lot of my upbringing was black. I was when I went to Washington Avenue, Webster Avenue, where the dopest DJs in the Bronx, DJ Supreme, DJ Formalo, you know, these were dope DJs, and they would battle it out. They were in the same park. They would battle it out. Those two DJs. So I was down there, and I was hanging out with. They were all Webster Avenue, Washington Avenue. That's all black. Like Puerto Ricans stayed on their side of town. I didn't know the dangers because I'm coming from, you know what I mean? And even as I got a little older, I still didn't know the dangers because I wasn't doing well at home. I wasn't staying at home. I was running away, going away. I was staying here, staying there. So I didn't really know the dangers. And really,
So
to
would
me, it
you
didn't
say
affect it.
dancing? You would you say dancing actually helped you stay away from most of the danger? because you were focused on trying to get
Well, I
paid,
was in
trying to get
dangerous
shows?
neighborhoods. I was in dangerous neighborhoods, where at the time Puerto Ricans stayed here, black people stayed here, Italians people stayed there. You know what I mean? So I didn't know the danger that I was in a black neighborhood and I was Puerto Rican and that these motherfuckers might not like me over there because they had some beef with some Puerto Ricans from the other side of town. I didn't. That was not because I wasn't taught that because I wasn't home to be taught that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So now what happened was my skill level, because I can tell you one thing right now: if you can do something that's badass, and black people like you, they usually have your back. They'll take care of you. You know
They
what I'm saying?
respect your
And
talent.
that basically they respect the talent, they respect the skill, they respect that I'm down there and I'm going at it with whoever down there on Watson Avenue. I don't care what color you are. And that's what was me. I was battling cats down there, like, let's do this. And I was there without no fear because I didn't know. If I had known, I probably would have been scared, but I wasn't scared. I was part of that. I was part of Washington Webster Avenue. You know, I I remember I was battling a couple of cats, and I was getting it in. And one of them said, I didn't hear it, but Zone. I don't know if you know Zone TDK,
Of course, Zone,
but
yes.
he's a hitter. Yeah, Zone
Hmm.
used to be down on Washington Avenue all the time. Before he was hitting, me and Zone were good friends in the Bronx. He lived on Clay, so we used to stay at the jams. We used to see each other at the jams all the time. So Zone overheard one of the guys saying, "Listen, man, this Puerto Rican kid, he ain't leaving this neighborhood." And Zone said, "Nah, man, that's my boy Julio. If y'all fuck with him, you might take me out too. Fuck that." Zone had my back, and he had peoples down there, so they left me alone. And this is off of a battle that I was having. Zone had my back, and then when we
That
made it
means
to
you
be
were nice.
official,
That means you were nice.
yeah,
If the brothers out there were
yeah,
looking at you and they felt some type of way, they were like, this
yeah, they
Puerto
felt some
Rican
type
leaving
of
this
way, and
neighborhood.
yeah, I was smoking them, I was embarrassing them, and Scooter wasn't there at the time. I was just battling. Zone was there, and Zone was like, "Nah, man, you ain't fucking with my boy Julio." What? Now this story is a good story, and this is about when I became official down in uh, Washington Webster Avenue. Is when my name was called. When DJ Supreme called Scooter, called Baba Baco, and he said, "Clown," because I was going by Clown at the time. Go back, come back behind the ropes. Now, getting back behind the ropes, that was VIP. At the back in the days, if you're called back behind the rope where the DJ is, where all the other players and whatever is back there behind the ropes, fronting, whatever they're doing, showing that they got pulled because they could be standing there right next to the DJ, behind the DJ. Nobody else can go behind those ropes. When they called my name, I was like, did they just tell me to come behind the ropes? You know? I ducked under that rope like one of those WCW wrestlers. Got back there and I was just like, I'm behind the fucking ropes. Like, I'm official.
That's it.
I'm
That was
official
better than
down
a
here on
trophy.
Webster.
That was better than a trophy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now nobody fucked with me on Webster Washington Avenue. That wasn't even a problem because I'm part of the crew. I'm part of the drug dealers that are hanging out behind the ropes with DJ Supreme, right? And the best poppers and the best rappers and the beatboxers. Because remember, they used to battle it out. I told you, Formula was on the other side of the park. Both DJs would be facing each other, but one be on this side of the park and the other one be on that side of the park. Now they won't be playing at the same time, but they would try to outdo each other when there was time for one of them to play. So DJ
Mm.
Formula would come out there with 4 or 5 mics. Formula would come out there with 4 or 5 mics and have some dope cats. I mean, I think one time he even had, was it the Cold Crush Brothers or something like that? Well, motherfuckers was over there. This is the way we harmonize. This is the way. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, act Dr. Rock. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, act Dr. Rock. Dr. Rock Come on, let's rock the spot. We're the Force MCs. And, you know, these motherfuckers, all of them are on mics. And he had shit like that. But they were rapping, but they were harmonizing. So Formula he said, rap is it. This is it. This is what I'm bringing. I may put a beatboxer back here, but I'm DJing and I'm bringing the best rappers that I can find. That's going to be behind my rope. And DJ
Yes.
Supreme was like, I'm going to take the poppers and lockers and the breakers, you know what I mean? And I'm going to take some rappers and some beatboxers. And I'm going to put them behind my rope. So now, who puts on the best show is going to keep the crowd by the end of the night. Because everybody wants a front row, right? So, you know, you want to be front row on that rope, right? So if you like the rappers that Formula brought, right, when it was time for Supreme to go, you stayed on that side with Formula because when he brings his rappers back up, you want to have the front row. You don't want to give up your front row seat. But there was no seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if you left the poppers and everybody in the beatboxes on Supreme side, right, when it was time for Formula to go, he kept his crowd there because the entertainment, the kind of entertainment he had behind the ropes, he kept his crowd there. And that's how it went. It went back and forth. That was pretty bad.
So now you had the props from everyone in the VIP area.
Yeah, I got behind the ropes, man. I was gonna write a book behind the ropes. I got behind the ropes, and that was big in hip hop, man. For me, I'm now behind the ropes. That was big for me.
So
You know?
now
I'm still like a
comparing
teenager, a young man, a young teenager, but I'm back there, man. Now I didn't go back there and pose, and all that, because you know, not that I was trying to be humble. I didn't know nothing about that. I just felt like I don't know if I should be back here. I just didn't want to try to front. I never really fronted. I never did the hip hop stance at that time.
So what would you do? You
I
would
didn't.
dance?
Yeah, we'd get down. It'd be me, Scooter. Scooter would do some stuff. Mr. Wave would be back there. This was before. I guess Mr. Wave must have knew New York City Breakers. I didn't know he knew them, but he wasn't working with New York City Breakers. He was just back. He used to go to the jams. You know, Mr. Wave, Scooter, Corey, Papa Lock Corey, um, Zone. Sometimes Spud would pop up, or Natty, you know, or Hen Love. You know, they'll pop up. Matter of fact, even now, there was another Puerto Rican that popped up, Frank. I don't know if you know Frank Concepcion. He lived on Webster Avenue, but he didn't go to the jams. But one time he did come to a jam, and I met Frank. That's how I met. Through Frank is how I got to meet Scott LaRock. Scott LaRock lived in the projects right there on Webster or Washington, one of those. He lived there by those jams. So Frank Scott. But this is later on. You know what I mean? But point is, he knew Scott. Frank never really went to the jams. Frank he's a dope cat. He's still around today. And he was dope then, but Frank was not. Now I'm surprised because he's been telling me stories that he's been battling people and stuff like that. But at that time, he just worked on his craft.
Do
You
you
know, but
feel
he
that the
wasn't into the
OGs back
artists.
then? Do you feel like the OGs back then are similar to what is an OG now? In the sense, your generation, do you guys have kind of like the same code of ethics and hip hop culture, or is there more of a
OGs
different
back then that were
loyalty?
smarter than us. OGs back then that were smart. The OGs back then that like I think they were they had a I don't know if they had a vision, right? They had a vision. They knew that they wanted to do something, and I think the OGs like us today have the vision that they did, as far as like taking it to the next level, or trying to get into the business, trying to catch fame, or even business-wise getting popular, they're different. Because we're OGs and we have everything in our hands. We have the technology to do so much more. A lot of us ain't doing shit. These people, OGs back then, didn't have that, but they got a lot done. You know, some of them became big rappers, went to record labels, did things nothing, which they
Is
got a
there more
lot done.
unity back
So
then? More
they
unity
knew how
back
to.
then?
Well, yeah, I thought it was unity. I saw the unity between, even though Formalo and Supreme used to battle all the time on Washington or Webster. I don't know what park that was. I think it was called 132 Schoolyard. Even though they were rivals, they were still. They were friends. They knew how to battle and not, you know, oh, I'm gonna find an excuse to shoot your shit up, whatever, or to get kicked out. They worked together in a way, even though they were rivals. So I think they were smarter because they knew that if they rocked the house, that people was gonna back and talk about it. Because there was only two ways to promote that stuff at a jam. It was either one of those tapes or it was word of mouth. People took
Absolutely.
and they said, "Hey, this
Now,
happened."
now,
You need
all these
and so they
OGs from now. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so now all these OGs, the OGs that you see now, that you've basically grew up with in the career that you have, what is something people seem to misunderstand about you? Like people around the scene now. Is there something they misunderstand about you? What would it be that you think?
Not that I know of. Not much. I couldn't think of anything. You know what I mean? In the hitting world for a little bit, I was supposed to be. and I'm a racist. I'm a racist because I started hitting with Will and Cuba, and I started taking my Puerto Rican crew around the world. You know what I mean? So in the hitting world, there was like, oh, he don't want to do nothing with black people. I'm like, I've been around you all my life. You know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't get things going business wise. I tried and I tried. So what with me, I saw an opportunity. Remember, I was in Florida for a while, and then I went back to New York, and this is the resurgence of b-boying around that time. I see I saw an opportunity in the kids that if I could keep them away from the bad habits of the hitters, because the hitters, even though they're hitters and they make money, and even to today they make money. They make money. They're not harming nobody. They're not hurting nobody. You know what I'm saying? But business wise, they're not in the right lane. They're just hitting. They're not trying to make moves with their
It's
skill
not
and
the same as
talents.
back then.
You know what I
Because I
mean?
remember doing shows with you,
Yeah.
Cuba,
So
and Will.
and I never was able to get them. So, but yeah, Will and them, I was able to keep them away from the. Don't get me wrong, I love the hitters, and if it wasn't for the hitters, I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of shit. If it wasn't for John, the Flow Committee, the Breeze team. These are the OG hitters that I love. They're like the Breeze team. When they like you, your family. They may fuck with you a lot, but when they like you, your family. You know what I mean? And they'll take care of you. But
Wayne
again, like I was
Bliss,
saying,
Zone, right? All of them?
well, that's the Flow Committee. That's the Flow Committee. The Breeze team is different, but they're
Yes.
OGs too. They came after the Flow Committee. So the Breeze team, when they like you, your family, they'll go up above and beyond for you. That's why I was a little bit upset when I was hearing some of that from the Breeze team, like, oh, this guy. What I was hearing that some people were saying, this guy is a racist. He only wants to look out for Puerto Rican people. But it was that I tried, and we never got things going. So when I got the opportunity to say, okay, let me mold these kids, and let me try, just to see if I could have been wrong. Let me see if, but I wasn't wrong. I molded the kids. I took the route that I wanted to take, and we went that way. You know what I mean? And man, shout out! I can't do this interview without even giving shout out to. I'm down with skill methods. You know what I mean? That's my b-boy crew. right? Like the real true essence of b-boying. But USA Breakdancers is my hitting crew. That was my company. And Will was my right hand man. Very, very loyal.
Shout
You know what
out
I
to
mean?
Ill
Very, very loyal to the last minute. You know what I'm saying? And Cuba I had a little trouble with because young punk type thing, a little trouble with. But he was there with me. We wind up getting Minnie as our kid, and then later on getting Ready. And we opened a lot of doors for ourselves, the USA Breakdancers, lots of doors. And for other dancers, there are other people right now that are eating because of what the USA Breakdancers did. And
Correct.
I can say Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit, we brought him in. He's still doing halftime shows with the NBA. We brought him into that world. He's still eating, doing halftime shows of doors that we opened. Um, you have now Tick and Tack are starting to do the festival circuit because downtown is not uh, Washington Square Park is some since the weed thing. It's been a little bit difficult for them down there. So they've been doing the festival circuit, and they're coming in behind us. We open those doors. You know what I mean?
Because I know you
Um,
went to Toronto and doing the carnival. You guys used to do that a lot, right?
yeah. We man, we opened so many doors. We USA Breakdancers have been to Dubai like 5 times. You know what I mean? We won. I think it was 1999 or 2000, the Street Performers World Championships. The Street Performer world is like the B-boy world. There's
Yep.
street performers that are dope around the world that have badass acts. And we went in there and we destroyed, we won that shit. You know what I mean? Um, there's also, even in Toronto, I put it on there when I sent you. The one in Toronto was
Hmm.
like a million plus people. And that was the biggest busker festival in North America. And we won that. Like we were winning People Choice Awards and awards at every festival that we went to. So we were getting flown in all over the world. So all the traveling and everything, all that stuff that I did, that comes from the USA Breakdancers. That comes from Will, Cuba, Minnie, and Reddy, and me molding those guys and getting them, and getting them. And it wasn't easy. I had to sometimes be really mean to them because these are street kids. These are kids from the hood. You know what I mean? But now they know why. They're still eating. Minnie,
Yep.
Reddy, Cuba, still doing corporate, still doing bar mitzvahs all over New York. That's USA Breakdancer stuff. Will still travel. He lives in Australia now, and he's got festival. He's still working from USA Breakdancers. So a lot of people are eating off of the doors that we opened, as far as a hitting crew, USA Breakdancer. And I was trying to get that done with the earlier hitters, Breeze T and the Flow Committee, and it just wasn't happening. So it was just like I had to make that move, and people were like, they started saying, "Hey man, kind of racist. You don't like want to be around people."
Well, that's
What do
something
you
they
mean? Isn't it?
misunderstood, but they were maybe misunderstood. And the reality is, you had to keep it moving, and it's kind of hard to change street people. To mold street people to anyone from the streets, I don't know how you could do that.
It's not
Tell
very
grown
easy,
folks,
you know.
nah.
Like K Mel got in with just K Mel got in with just sheer. I'm going to use that word. That might work. Sheer talent. Like he's been talented since he was a kid. We had a couple of kids. We had Meek, could flip his ass off. We had Troy, which I think was K Mel's cousin. We had Chili Willie that could float. He floated just like Bobby from the Flow Committee because he was Bobby's student. He loved Bobby. Each kid picked their own teacher, right? So out on the street that they looked up to. So there was Bobby, then there was little Bobby, which was Willie. There was this person, and there was this person, little version of them. And K Mel, when he came as a kid, he came as Meek's friend because Meek was a kid that was hitting with the flow committee, but he was lonely. He was by himself, hitting the streets. So he wanted to bring a friend to keep him company, and that was K Mel. And K Mel has been talented. He came to us doing the Michael Jackson, and he had a mean Michael Jackson. And he had a full split, like, what's his name? Jerry Fontenot's full split. That he could kick like Jerry Fontenot. Like, I brought K Mel to Jerry Fontenot. So, was it K Mel? No, it was Chili Willie. But he saw K Mel, and K Mel did a kick, and he was, and he was next to me, and he said, "Does he study?" I said, "No, this is him dancing." You know,
Amazing.
that's how impressive he was. So he got in off of sheer. He wasn't organized. He didn't put it together. He was in Hollywood. He was rubbing elbows with Chris Brown, Missy Elliott, the biggest stars in the world. He was chilling with. He had Hollywood in his hands because he was so talented, not just as a b-boy. You know what I mean? You know, they talk about Tata that works downtown. He's a hitter too, and he's a badass motherfucker. But
Yeah.
K Mel is just more of a dancer than Tata. K Mel can go to choreography. K Mel can do. He can pop. He can lock. He can break. He can top rock. I see K Mel battle story time. You know what story time is?
Yeah,
You know, story time is very hard to battle story time. He's just incredible, you know. K Mel battling him in very well. So it's like very so his talent is what got him off the street and into Hollywood. But then when he got in there, his street and his attitude slowly Hollywood spit him back out. Yes. So those people that were, saying, "Hey, K Mel is, what's that word? When they hit down, he's hitting in a. They feel like he's hustling them and he's taking money from them and he's treating them bad while he's hitting. Hey, there's crews in California right now who are eating off of what they learned from K Mel. Even if he was an asshole towards you. You know what I mean? Even if he was an asshole towards you, if you would not be eating the way you are right now without K Mel teaching you the ropes of the streets. You know? It's like Eric Clapton. You know who Eric Clapton is?
Yeah, of course.
He learned how to play blues. He has told stories about him getting the shit smacked out of him, jumped, beat up, robbed by playing with real blues players in Chicago, and black blues players in Chicago or whatever, and other shifty, you can call them shifty, blues players, whatever you want to call them. But you know what he said? If I would never play with these people, I wouldn't be as great as I was. I wouldn't be as great as I am now. I took all the punishment. And remember the punishment that these black blues players has taken to learn blues. And you took some of the punishment, but now you're Eric Clapton. It's because of them. You know, you took some beatings, you took some shit from K Mel, but if it wasn't for K Mel, you wouldn't be putting food on your table for your family. You wouldn't have that freedom to be in California and have a job and work when you want, so that you can go ahead and audition and get gigs and jobs and all that. You wouldn't have that freedom. So you owe him a lot. But you know what I mean? Even though, yeah, he could be an asshole. He can be an asshole. But he's teaching you something. He's giving you a gift, that a lifetime of experience that he's given you.
And you as well have taught so many people how to hit, jokes,
Yeah,
introductions, comedy.
yeah.
I've
Mm-hmm.
seen your shows. I've done some shows in the past with you, and you're amazing at what you do. And I could tell you, I learned a lot from you as well. Because when I do shows, even though the shows we did with Break Show and random shows that we did, you're one of those that I always kept in mind of how you even had the crowd coming to you and you're just talking. It's crazy. Like the
Well,
power of just comedy and things that you were saying, I learned a lot from that. And it's amazing.
yeah,
And I always tell
the
people
street
to
performing
always
world,
appreciate that.
what you have to do is you have to be open minded to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? The problem is with a lot of people is they're closed uh, in what they don't look, they don't watch other performers. You don't have to be, you don't have to, if you're just watching b-boys and what they're doing, then that's all you're gonna get. You know what I mean? But me, when I used to hit the street, before we call it on the streets the talk shit show, where everybody talks and they build the crowd and do the comedy and the one-liners and the interaction. Before we had that, it was just solo, TDK, whatever, solo, and the guy goes around with the bucket, gets money. And then we do it again. The guy goes around, and then we do it again. We do, a few in a row. But when I used to do that, I used to go like Central Park, different places, and we were arrogant. We would see a juggler, or not me, but the hitters would be arrogant, like, well, I don't want to watch that juggling bullshit. I'm not gonna watch that magician bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm not gonna watch that ballerina or that jazz or that tap dancer, because we were like, we're breakers. We're the best. Breaking is the best art form in our head, right? I used to sit down and watch those jugglers. I used to be like, this motherfucker's doing 2 tricks and got
And the rest of
500
the
people in
show,
front of him.
and the rest of the show is
How the
talking with comedy.
I'm like, how the fuck? I got to figure this out. So I used to sit and watch these people. And some of these people used to be part of circus. Like in the earlier days, Circus Lady wasn't around, but you had the Big Apple Circus, you had uh, Ringling Brothers, and they used to be, or they went to circus school, or they went to theater. Then they came out to the street, you know what I mean, to do shows. So what better way to get free lessons of circus or theater or anything by watching a person that's out on the street?
Yeah. But let's do this. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
One thing?
Yeah, the top thing that you could say, I know you're gonna be remembered for a lot more than one thing, but if it will be
Yeah, yeah,
something you
yeah.
would like to be remembered.
I would say honesty. I would say honest. I'm I'm true to myself, my craft. I'm honest. And also sometimes I say things to people that they don't want to hear, but I just it's hard for me to lie. It's hard for me to lie. So I try to just be straight up with everybody. You know what I mean? So that would be like, I'd like people to say, you know what, Clown, he was an honest person. He was true to the culture. He was true to himself, and he said it the way he said it. You know what I mean? He said it like it was. He didn't lie. Because I hate when people lie. Like if you suck, and I'm going to say, hey, you need to get your shit together. It's not right. And I've done that as a judge in battles. People say, and I say, hey, man, you didn't look too good tonight. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
yeah,
got to
yeah.
get your shit together. You got to do
Some
homework.
people can get
And they
constructive
didn't want that
criticism well.
honest opinion. They didn't want that honest opinion, but it's hard for me to beat around the bush and lie about why you lost the battle. Probably why I don't get judging, get to be a judge.
So you
Yeah,
said
so it's the
shout out to
Wi-Fi.
Quickstep. You say Quickstep and
Yeah,
Rockefeller.
Quick Step and Rockefeller, because yeah, Quick Step was with the USA Dancer, Street Artist Dancer. That's what we were called. The only reason why we changed it was because we found USABreakdancers.com. We couldn't find United Street Artists at USA.com. So we found USABreakdancers.com. And I said, okay, that's who we're going to be then. USA Breakdancers. Because we found that. So that's the reason why we changed the name. And everybody really was breakdance because at that time it was Will, Cuba, Reddy. Well, Reddy wasn't there, but Will and Cuba, we were breakdancers. I was the only popper, so we just said USA breakdance. But I wouldn't have been to get a lot of the stuff accomplished without them. So they may watch this podcast and they'll see that I love the guys. Those are my brother. Will's my kid, not my kid, but if I had a kid, it would have been him.
Yeah,
Will,
I've known
you
Will
know,
since he was a little kid too. As long as
yeah,
I've known you, I've known Will, and I remember way
yeah,
back doing shows and stuff. I traveled with him as well. Um,
yeah.
and man,
Good guy, good guy.
I'm gonna get him on the show. I'm gonna get him on the show. But this is what I'm
Yeah,
gonna do right now. I'm gonna give you your own screen, and remember, we could do part two in the future when things are better, and we could put more footage and more things. But I'm gonna give you your own screen, and I would like for you to tell everybody what are you up to these days. Where can people find you online and connect with you? So take it away.
all right. Well, I am on TikTok. I'll throw some clips up there, a little bit of popping, locking, whatever. It's Boogie Boy Boogie Boyee Boogie Boy. I'm on Instagram, Boogie Down Klown, uh, and just a hardworking citizen of the United States of America now, not performing full time. Got a regular job. I do teach once a week here in Florida. What else is there? I am trying to recreate myself as an MC. I'm looking to see if I can promote myself and start MCing some of these events because I'm pretty good on the mic. I got a good voice, strong voice, and I know how to work the mic. So maybe if there's any opportunities for anybody that's promoting events and they need an MC, a strong MC, I'm your guy. Look me up.
Definitely,
Just what
definitely.
I'm working on.
And Clown, I want to thank you. And it's such an honor. And I've seen you since the beginning of my career as a dancer.
Yeah,
And you've been one of those inspirations, not only from your character, your ethics of working, your business skills, your entertainment skills, your performance. Man, when it comes to superheroes, if you watch the X-Men or Marvel, you're one of the superheroes in my life. And I want to
I
thank you.
appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that.
Straight up, straight up.
You know.
And you see me
Yeah,
since a little kid, and I'm
yeah,
45 now, and you've known me
yeah,
probably since I was like 15 years old. And it's
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
how time flies, man. And
It is.
hey, you're one of the big brothers that till this day, 2023, I look after, and always inspired by you. Even the last time we got an award together, that just
Yeah,
sharing that, I was literally like,
yeah.
how am I getting an award with Clown next to me? Like that tripped me
Yeah.
out. And let me tell
But
you,
you
thanks,
deserve
Stephanie
it, man.
Rockwell.
You're loyal to the culture. You're loyal to the dance. You know what I mean? You're
Thank you. I
doing
appreciate
things.
it.
You're bringing people up. You're giving them a platform. You know what I mean? You respect everybody that came before you and that's coming. You know, after you do a few OGs, get a couple of young punks up in there too. That's an idea.
Oh, yes,
Just
yes.
some
And I'm
young
gonna
punks.
do that, but yeah, but I need to
And
bring my
young
OGs
dancers.
first.
Yeah, young dancers. Don't take it personal. When I say young punks, it's love. It's a love
Yes,
thing. I
yes,
just say
yes.
young punks. You're not really young punks. You- all right, don't get upset. I'm just saying young
Yes,
punks with
because
love. But yeah, bring someone
for
up there because they
sure,
have
for
things to
sure.
say. And some of these young
Yes, and I
dancers,
will.
you know,
I will. I will for sure.
they're smart. They're smart. They're business minded, and we could learn a lot. We need to get them up and
Yeah,
see what
and
they're
I
doing,
do,
how they.
and I
Yeah,
do. But I want to do it
yeah,
with the OGs first to make sure I cover
yeah.
my past and the people that have been around all my
Right.
life, that I have worked with, that I've
Yeah,
traveled the world with, that I've done just things with. So, and that's why I have you here.
yeah,
But Clown, thank you very much once again. I don't even know how
yeah,
many
man.
times I can say thank you because I'm gonna always thank you for life. So,
I
ladies and
appreciate
gentlemen,
it,
I
brother.
go by the name of Flashback. That is Julio Santiago, aka Boogie Down Klown. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Peace, y'all.
Peace.